Oh,
that was fast. That was like
It's
over already.
Hey now, everybody. This is Johnny Beane. It's Johnny Beane TV. It is February 19th, 2021, 8:08 Eastern PM. Clock time 5:08 East Pacific.
108 here.
Santa Cruz 1:08.
Yes. 1:08 a.m.
in the morning.
So,
man.
So Cameron, you think you're dreaming right now, essentially.
I am dreaming right now. It's just a bit euphoric, to be honest. I shed a small tear before we came on. Brilliant to be back, guys. Thank you for having me on once again.
Of course, man. Yeah, this is great. This is great. And we are live. We're live. Jay Hannon.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, man.
Hey,
and we're live on YouTube, of course, where we have our channel members. We have our sponsors, our executive producers like Charles Green, Joe Christian, Wayno. Hey, Ned.
List. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. See, things have gotten bigger in the past couple of years.
Oh yeah.
Thomas Santiago, Music Therapy Laz, Bent Tom, James Gum, Voodoo Childs J, Mike Neese, Frank Corcoran, Michael Smith, David Ennis, Stephen Franklin, Dad Halen, John Moronic, Jimmy Ray Hawkins, and Steve Carmichael.
Whoa.
That's the top tier of channel membership here on the Johnny Beane TV YouTube channel.
Steve Carmichael.
Steve Carmichael. If you'd like to become a channel member, click the join button. You get exclusive content, exclusive videos. You get a little guitar avatar next to your name, which will change as far as Mike Neese was asking or telling. He's a producer. He was telling me, he's like, Johnny, we need more avatars for some of the long time members.
Avatar.
So we will have those. We will have those for you guys. And also make sure to subscribe to the Johnny Beane podcast. We are on iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, radio.com. Make sure to subscribe to those. And we're live on Facebook, Johnny Beane TV Facebook page, where we now have Facebook stars. So if you'd like to help support the channel, support the shows. And we're also live in the Van Halen 1974 to 2020 Facebook group, where I think we just passed like 29,000 members or something.
Wow.
And it's insanity in that place. So make sure to join.
5150s.
Make sure to join. Yeah. Nightbot should have the link to it in the chat over there. Hopefully Nightbot's here. And brand new, the newest feature is I've got a smart light right here.
Oh.
Right here.
On that purple backdrop.
And what happens anytime there's a super chat, the light changes to the color of the super chat or the super sticker.
Oh, that's neat.
So even more excitement over here. And I've got an EVH guitar that's bare bones. I've got duct tape.
Wait, so that thing changes color automatically?
Yes. Try it.
I ain't trying. You try.
Somebody
else try it.
Look at all those in the chat. Give it a try. Yeah, it's exciting. Kurt 5150. Look at all the smashing guitar avatars, I think. Wow. And Cameron, you can see the chat, right?
I was about to ask about that.
Do you have it? Do you see the comments? If you're within StreamYard, there's a comments button that you push.
Oh.
And you'll see you'll see everybody. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I can see it now. All right, that's really cool. Whoa. What? There is a lot of 5150s going on here.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Yeah, cool. I've got it up now. I didn't know you could do that. So I haven't done a stream like this for a long time. As I was saying to Johnny before, this is the first sort of collaborative live stream I've done since I think the last time I was on here, which was 2 years ago. So it feels great to be doing this again.
That was 2 years ago?
Yeah, can you believe it? How fast time's flown.
Man.
So much has happened.
That's insane.
So much has happened. Oh, wow. It's crazy.
Well, what's new, man? I mean, it's 2 years since you've been on here.
So much has sort of really come to fruition, to be honest with you. Obviously, the channel's grown and grown. I've started working with the Fender sort of specialty brands now, not as like a paid sponsor, but as a good friend of the company, hence why I've had a lot of EVH related content come to my channel over the past 2 years. I've also gotten Lake Domain off the ground now, which is my original music project, and it's been very well received so far. I've put a couple of tracks out, and I have every intention of releasing more, but the pandemic just destroyed our workflow, and we had to change tack a little bit, but we'll be dropping more music in 2021, which is going to be awesome. And since then, I've been a busy bee teaching. That's mainly what I do now. I swapped a bad job I had when I was at university for an awesomely fantastic and busy one in online teaching now, which has been keeping me very, very busy during the pandemic, and it's awesome. And every day I'm playing a lot of Van Halen, so it feels really good to finally come on and talk about it some more. It's really, really cool.
Oh yeah,
that's great. That's great, man. Yeah, I see your stuff all the time on Instagram. All the time.
Always uploading on there in some way, shape, or form. I love it on there. It's my only social media, so I don't use anything else.
Man,
so all those fake Cam Cooper accounts on every other social media, it's not him. It's not him.
I know, because I was looking to tweet this out, and I was looking for you, and I couldn't find you on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I used to have that, but then I realized I don't know, I couldn't. You know when you get certain platforms that just suit the way you want to sort of consume things. I'm very visually orientated when it comes to a lot of the social media stuff. The way Facebook sort of used to be before it turned into sort of like a sort of fake news fest almost. So I ended up basically sort of dropping that in the end, and also a bunch of other terms that have. I can just hear some smashing crockery. But it's like a sound effects box or something. But yeah, I ended up dropping that and then moved straight onto Instagram exclusively because I love it on there. You know, it's just full of really, really cool content, inspiring stuff, and I don't know, you feel more in control of it somehow.
Yeah.
So I always enjoyed that one.
I love it too. You know, I've got several, a few. I've got a few accounts that I use, and
the Instagram thing. Out of the three of them, it's my favorite as well, just because it's mostly just pictures.
Yeah.
And if anybody were to see my, what's it called? A feed. It's like guitars and butt cheeks, right? So, and not Brendan butt cheeks either. Not Brendan butt cheeks. So,
not Brendan's butt cheeks.
Oh, not Brendan's butt cheeks. No, it is Brendan's butt cheeks. But then people started ruining it by like, it's the reason, the whole Twitter and Facebook thing. Like, I don't want to read posts about this and that and stuff. But then now people on Instagram started ruining that by like typing out and and putting up pictures of stuff. And I'm like, come on, just leave it to guitars and butts, man. That's all.
Yeah. I know. That's all we want to see. All we want to see. It's what Instagram was made for, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh snap.
Yeah, Ben Tom says, Jay, I thought you were only on OnlyFans. That's some pretty hot content. I think other people might have to get on that if that's true.
Well, there was already a comment. One of the things that I remember when I first spotted you on OnlyFans, I mean Instagram, was you were I think you were responsible for selling the majority of Yamaha THR 10 amps that are in existence right now.
Maybe apparently. So someone in many, I don't know, a few in the comment section have said you're like the ambassador of that amp. And I don't know. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, but it just became my go-to sort of device for virtually anything. I first found that piece of kit. Oh God, it might have been about, I don't know, it was the start of like 2013, more or less, maybe back end of 2012, about one or the other. And I couldn't believe how realistic and fat it sounded for such a small device and what it was capable of. And I didn't know at the time it came with things like Cubase and stuff like that. So anyway, I ended up getting a hold of this thing. I thought, this thing is just absolutely amazing. And then Satchel's video with it came out. And at the time, I'd only just sort of found Steel Panther, and I was really sort of discovering their music. And I'm a man of extremes. I go through like obsessive phases, and I've done the same with loads of guitarists and sort of musical trends in my life. But anyway, when that video dropped, I was like, this is just destiny. It was like I was meant to have this amp, and I ended up just completely and utterly falling in love with the sounds that were in it. And obviously, Van Halen was a huge part of the sounds that I got out of it. And for anyone who's looking to, it's a weird thing to say this, but for anyone who's looking to start a channel, which given the nature of the world now, obviously everyone's inside, it's easier than ever now really to do it on a budget with amps like the THR range now, because it comes with the recording software, be it a trial version. That's what I used when I started the channel out. It sounds great on its own. It's its own interface. And in terms of like recording and playing and stuff like that, it eliminates not only the need to buy tons and tons of equipment, but also eliminates a lot of the skill involved in doing it. So it's just the most ideal way to get started with it. So I recommend them to anybody. That's not like paid to say that stuff. It's just like a no-brainer piece of kit. It's absolutely awesome. And a lot of it, again, it comes down to how well it imitates our favorite players. You know, it just does it so well. You just have to hit an A chord on the Brown 2 model on this, and it's just every sort of Van Halen with Roth album, more or less, under the sun. And then add that chorus on there. You've got the and I don't know what really, but I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like that sort of double-tracked, detuned sound. It's not
harmonized,
chorus like the Police or something. It's an absolutely fantastic sort of replicator on a budget of that detuned, balanced tone that it's also really liked. So you can cover both eras very, very easily. And again, would recommend. I think one of my daily questions is, dude, how are you getting that tone? Same old, same old. And then if I ever want it louder, I go through this guy behind me. So yeah, absolutely amazing amp. Have you guys got them actually? Have you guys got THRs yet?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know you guys had got one. Have you guys got the 32 as well? The wireless?
No, not yet.
Oh, you need one. They're so good.
I'm not sure what I have.
You have a Johnny has the THR 10. You don't have the green one, right, Johnny?
You have the white one.
It's like tan.
Tan. Oh, it'd be, that's just the regular THR 10.
It's like a tan color. Michael Smith gave it to me for my birthday or something.
That's a
yeah. Michael Smith, thank you again, man.
Well, a couple Christmases ago, Santa brought me the THR 5, which I have downstairs next to the TV, and I have the X-Vive wireless, the transmitter.
Yeah,
and I just hang out around downstairs, walk around, sit on the couch, and it's the coolest thing. And then up here, I have the I'm gonna pull my whole rig down over here, but I have the the 10X, man.
They're like hen's teeth, those things.
Huh?
They're like British phrase. They're like hen's teeth. You can't find them anymore.
Oh, you can't?
No, it's a discontinued model. A lot of people go, "Oh, dude, where'd you buy them from?" And then you can't find one anywhere. Certain stores have little pockets of stock lying around. But yeah, it's an amazing amp.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, you guys right now. So,
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you have the EVH, the 5153 behind you.
Indeed.
Johnny has the OG 5150 amp. I got, I got the 6505 back there, plus some stuff around me. Unless I'm like recording something for like real deal, I plug into that thing, man, and it's like, it's the shit.
Yeah, it's so helpful. It's really cool. And I think as well, in a world of like file sharing and stuff like that, where the way a lot of projects are done, it's like, oh, just send it over to me via DI. You can do a DI signal with it as well. And it's not like it's a bad DI signal either. I didn't know for the longest time that DI signals even varied. Like, you get certain ones that are stronger and respond better than others. It's a really good sort of strong DI signal. It's great for reamping as well. If you suddenly decide that you want to run your original THR tone with something else. And it sounds amazing. That's what we ended up doing with the Lake Domain tracks we did. For the first song we did, we used my original THR tone and an Engel reamp, which came out really, really well. And then for the second one, we actually reamped it through a PV 5150. The clean channel, I think we used the Engel again, but for the other for the distorted tones, it was a PV 5150 that they had at Top Floor Studios in Sweden. So yeah, it was really, really cool. They're an amazing piece of kit for sure. But now you guys, you gotta upgrade. You gotta get the 30 now. They're so good. The THR 30 is the bomb. So
I hope they sent you that.
Oh, I've got it.
No,
Yeah,
I'm saying I hope. Never mind. I was gonna say I hope they just sent it to you and said,
They did. They did on that.
Good. You've sold 50,000 of the other ones. Here's one.
Yeah. I know. It's so funny, isn't it? It's like you never get any stuff for free. You do, but you don't talk about it. In terms of the 32, I was lucky to demo that at the end of 2019, and as a result, they let me, keep the amp. But what's so funny in that demo, I've not really talked much about that amp since I got it, but the 32 in that review, I had a prototype one offset, which is what they had me plugged into. They were still working on the like the sort of general appearance. They sent me like a prototype one. I am certain it was bigger. It looked pretty much the same, but it was a little bit bigger than the one that I've definitely got now, which is the mass-produced one. But they basically said, right, well, you can keep this one, the one that turned into the production model, and they sound great. And it covers so many more sounds than the 10X, which obviously I really, really love. But also what's super helpful, I find, is the Bluetooth connectivity. If I want to play with backing tracks and stuff, it's awesome. Yeah. Absolutely ace. And you can get really in, you can really tweak with the editor as well. It's so cool. Absolutely love that thing. You guys have to get them. It was so good.
Yeah, maybe Santa when he comes in 10 months. And the cool thing, I guess, about the newer one is, because with like we talked about before, like the 10, they have the 10X, which is more high gain.
Yeah.
And then Johnny has the kind of like in the middle road. And then they have like the acoustic one or something like that that's made for more of that stuff.
Yeah, you get the THR, I think 5A, which in that one it's almost like a bronzy color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the good thing with the 30 or the 32, 30? What is it?
Yeah, I don't know where the 2 came from.
I don't know either. I thought it was just the 30.
That's the only thing I didn't get, where it was like a THR 32. I mean, where's the 31? I want that.
You're skipping right over stuff.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the 32, man.
But isn't it like all 3 of those amps, like basically saying now you don't need to buy, we're combining and you have more options in this one amp, right?
Yeah, and not only that, not only is it louder, but I love how you can just pick it up and walk off with it. You don't have to be plugged into the mains or anything like that. And what's so cool, it's not to the same extent as this is normally talked about. I've actually toured with it as well. I ended up just before the world ended, I did a tour with BBC, basically with they have what's known as like BBC bite size. Sorry, I can't speak. 1 a.m. But it was basically where you've got BBC Bite Size, in short, is an educational platform basically for kids. It's its own website and everything like that. And what they used to do is they'd run these sort of super assemblies where they'd run like a virtual sort of panel show for all the kids. They'll get guests on and stuff like that. And then for some weird reason, they asked me to do it one year, and they kept me on for 3 or 4 like dates around the west of England. So it was like a really short tour, and they basically said, right, what equipment do you need? This is the BBC. Like, what equipment do you need? I could have asked for virtually anything, but I thought, well, I've got one really convenient sort of piece of kit that I think will be able to get me through the whole thing. What are you guys taking? Well, all we've got is just a PA system. You'll be running through a wireless microphone and stuff like that when you're talking to the kids and all that. What else do you need in terms of, like, if you bring a guitar or anything? Do you want us to supply you with a guitar? And I thought, no, I'll bring my own. Whenever I've been supplied with a guitar, it's usually some kind of like Squire or something. But when it came to when it came to doing this, I just took a Charvel San Dimas and the 32, and I ended up on the back of the 32. It's got 2 line outs. And what ended up happening was we ended up lining out in stereo out the back, and it sounds massive. Like, a lot of line outs can be really quite weak. But yeah, the line outs out of the back of the 32 are absolutely rocking. So if you're a guy who's a little bit sort of minimal in your rig, where you've just got one overdrive sound, and then you maybe for a clean channel want to sort of roll your volume off or something, you can't go wrong with it. You can just go with that the whole night, and you don't even have to step on any pedals or anything. It's great. Just roll through that.
When you say they do you need us to supply you with a guitar? That's when you know that somebody's not a musician.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no, I'm not playing. Like you said, I'm not getting supplied with something that, you know, is missing a string, or, you know, the neck is like a boomerang. You know, you don't need any of that stuff. I'm bringing my own guitar.
Yeah. I think whenever anyone's been supplied with any guitar in the past, I mean, sometimes you can be really lucky and you get something absolutely amazing, but often than not, the neck is literally, you just mentioned it, is basically a banana. From how much it's been sort of aged over and over,
or just not set up. Old strings are rusty. You know, everything's crackling.
Oh yeah, and like where the guitar's so badly wired, it's like there's that perpetual sort of egg fry sound. It's like,
yeah, then the whole broadcast, you're tuning it, and everyone's like, "Hey, Cameron, it was cool to see you like showing people how to tune a guitar for 3 hours. It was great." It was very educational.
My new song, it's called Tuning.
Yeah, my new song. What note is this?
Yeah, I'm going to show you the new way, the harmonic way, with the wave, and then put a beat to that. I'll have to do that. All that dissonance, man. Sound like the next Polyphia album.
Man. Well, Jay, who's in the chat? Who's watching? We have 101 people watching.
A few minutes ago, my twins in the chat.
Hey.
Yeah. Do you guys know that I'm an identical twin?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we knew that he was. We didn't know that you were.
Yeah.
Hey, let's take what we got here. Not a Karema banana. Bent Tom said.
Hey, this makes no sense. We have 101 just on YouTube alone right now. But there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now it's loading up. Something must be wrong on my end, dude.
Yeah. All I can see is just the chat going up like credits. I can't see how many people are watching.
Yeah, I see 105, 104, 105.
Am I back?
I see Zach. Thong. He's here. 108. And yeah, by the way, leave a thumbs up. I see you.
Okay. All right. Because I switched my I was on the wrong Wi-Fi thing. And now all of a sudden it's pumping up, but something's still up. Am I clear?
Yeah. That picture's fine.
All right. I'll just read what I'm seeing. I see Angus Cooper. I wonder who that is.
I wonder who that is.
Ben Tom, chat security for Gizmachi. We got my beautiful wife downstairs, Jeannie says. Halface Ibanez GJ1. Johnny Beane is here. Kurt 5150, Lenny Lou, Michael Carver, Neil Daly, I think.
Hey, Neil.
Nerd Halen.
Nerd Halen in the house.
To everybody's dismay, Nightbot is here. Quentin James, R-Habs, Rick Green, Six String GOM, Susan Silvestri. Hi, Susan. Terry Himes, Thrash Metal and Fun Riffs. What's going in? Zach Thong, and now people are starting. Now it's starting to update. I don't know what's going on. Everybody else, say hello, and that's it.
Well, they're all coming in. I'm just looking at the feed now. It really started to roll like this, like last few seconds. Hey. Thank you, Brian. Just saw your comment there. Killer player, love his vids. I'm due to be getting some of the EVH 2021 models. I'm in the probably when they eventually get here. Oddly enough, due to Brexit, everything that goes through Fender goes from the US to Holland and then to the UK. So I'm due to be getting some more of their models to demo relatively soon. Are there any particular favorites that stood out for you guys this year?
Johnny and I have talked about that at the full extent.
Oh yeah, which ones just in short like really stand out to you in terms of like I gotta have that?
I really like the actually I've got a card here from some of the videos that I've done.
Because I like a little walkthrough of all the models. Whoa, look at that.
The second one on the left, the blue special.
That's the one I'm getting.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yes. That's the one right there, man.
That's the one I'm also getting. Then another one that I'm getting on there is the matte black 5150.
Ooh.
A bit different coming from me. Most people expect me to go for the neon pink, but there's something about that stealth one that's just it's just sexy, man. I really like it a lot.
Yeah. Our buddy
that guitar.
Our buddy Caleb from Nerd Halen. He already has the matte black one on I don't know if I should say on order or on reserve or whatever.
On the way.
On the way.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's so cool. I mean, they're insane guitars, and it's sort of like the last that's sort of like the last line of models I think Eddie sort of approved of, so to speak. Obviously, before the tragic events of October. Yeah, man, that was a tricky day, I'm sure, for all of us. I've actually never talked about it on a stream or even on the internet, to be honest with you. The whole thing hit me like a ton of bricks, as I'm sure it did for you guys.
Yeah, like I was telling you before we went live, basically 20 minutes after I saw the news, we went live. We were live like really the whole day.
Yeah, you were saying like 9 hours or something like that. Man,
9 hours or something. Yeah, just the entire day, and different people, different friends of ours would jump in and talk a little bit. And
yeah, honestly, crazy. You know, I mean, I don't know. I'm surprised about 5 hours. Sorry, 9 hours of streaming. How do you do that? That's one serious marathon. But yeah, I ended up finding out through my brother. My brother was scrolling through Instagram like he does, and he ended up sort of refreshing it just as Wolfgang dropped the announcement, and I just fell apart. It was just one of those moments where you don't realize. I was going through a rough patch anyway, but it was just one of those moments where you thought, oh my god, the icon has gone. And also it was something as well. I've got to be dead honest. I mean, I was so like incredibly hopeful for that guy as well. You think he'll just pull through. You got it sort of in your head.
He'll be back. Yeah, he'll be back.
It'll sort of right itself. I mean, if you it seems like a weird thing to compare stars in this way, but you think if Ozzy Osbourne and Keith Richards are still alive based on the substance abuse that they had and their age, Eddie Van Halen can pull through. I mean, come on. And honestly, when I found out, obviously, everything that had happened, it was just, oh dear, you know. But also, it was that feeling of, right, nothing new. It's just going to sort of stop now, you know. And the whole thing, I don't know, maybe they will drop something, like go back through the archive and start releasing more things. But yeah, it was just such a huge loss. I mean, what can you say? But also, it's that feeling of, there goes the guy who was still inspiring people with newer stuff. Like, obviously, you could see. I don't know if a video surfaced where he was where I don't know if you guys saw it, where he was plugged into basically like an iPad. Where you had a red Wolfgang.
Yeah.
I'd never seen that, and I thought, well, immediately the tones in the fingers. It sounds like Eddie, and he's just playing through an iPad. But also, I think he was always working on funny techniques and different ideas. I mean, hence how he was doing funny things later on in playing with the kill switch, for example, and eventually how that's found its way onto the, you know, the 5150 guitars. I don't know, and it's that feeling of, oh, there's nothing new on the way, and that feeling of it's just gone. It was a huge shame. What can you say? And also all of the inspiration he had on my other influences. I mean, my other influences that come after, of course, after Eddie Van Halen, you got Satchel, Steve Vai, Gus G, John Five, and Satriani, loads of others. And you think, man, you just think of the ripple effect. He said, how many guitarists wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for Eddie?
Oh, how different! Yeah, how different everything would be, man. We obviously we wouldn't be sitting here. Johnny and I wouldn't know each other. How sad is that?
I'd be sitting outside right now, looking at the trees. No, it's you know, it's because he was Eddie Van Halen. That's why the electric guitar is how it is today.
Yeah, I know, it absolutely is, and I ended up finding out so much about him, but as a result of what's happened. It's like almost all of the facts and the narrative came out after he passed. For example, I didn't know that Eddie was the dude responsible for putting the you know, the fine tuners on a Floyd Rose.
Yeah.
And like and that's probably like common knowledge to everyone in the chat. It's like, dude, where's he been? But
for 2 years.
Yeah, I always thought he started off with the, isn't it on the Bumblebee? He's got the sort of Brad Gillis style Floyd with the with no fine tuners that they've eventually started making for the Guthrie Govan model. But then you get the obviously the variant that we all use now.
Yeah,
and I didn't know he was responsible for that, and so many other things that he did. Also, the dipping pickups in wax, or what do they call it? Potting a pickup or something.
Paraffin wax.
I didn't know they did that. I think that's absolutely it's crazy, all the stuff that he did, you know, absolutely mad. Absolutely insane. Anyway,
that's how his guitar came to be, you know, doing all that stuff. That's how we got, you know, this guitar right here.
Yeah, man, what a mess.
Yeah. What's amazing is, you know, that when that thing was made, and obviously that's the same guitar that's on Van Halen 1, as far as, you know, he painted over it. But
yeah,
who would have thought that years later, these people would be buying those and they wouldn't be able to keep them in stock? Who would have thought, right? I mean, that's just insane.
I know. Whoa, yours is really relic. The one I got was barely, like, I mean, the body was relic. That was like standard, but the neck, yours is like the neck on yours is like black.
No, it's not. It's not as dark as I know.
Some others, but
yeah, Caleb from Nerd Halen got one that it was literally like black. I think Cameron Brown as well.
He's an insane guitarist.
Oh, he's awesome, man. It's funny because you got you and you got him, and I was telling my wife, we have an 11-month-old baby boy downstairs. I'm like, I know we have his name picked out, but maybe we should name him Cameron, because it seems like everybody named Cameron is an amazing guitarist. Like, he'll have to play guitar, right, if his name's Cameron?
Oh yeah. That's oh man, it's so cool. I mean, can you imagine if you had?
Yeah.
I actually got a comment once from a guy. It was after I got on stage with Steel Panther the second time around. A dude left in his comments, like, I've named my boy's middle name is Cameron after you from getting on stage. We made our decision at Steel Panther that night. And he
Wow.
actually did. He actually sent me, like, I couldn't believe he sent me like an email of like proving that it had happened. I was like, what made what alcohol does? Like,
That's
like
awesome.
the power of booze right there.
The power of guitar.
Yeah, legit. That's what happened that night. They decided to name their baby after me after Steel Panther and a lot of alcohol.
Wow.
We had a question from your brother in here. I know we haven't got any questions yet, everybody. Hold your wad. We'll get to them. Maybe. But he had a question for Johnny, for you and I. He said, if EVH added new additions to the Striped series, which guitars would you want EVH? There you go. Would you want EVH to make?
I know what I'd want them to make.
Well, you started off.
Hang on a second.
Oh, I see. So Angus, so you're asking if they were to make like another like tribute type of model of one of his actual guitars.
Yeah,
right. That's
what
he's asking. Yeah.
Yeah. So I if you were to pick one, I mean, if you look at all of the stuff he had on like the 07 tour, where he'd play a new Charvel every night, wouldn't he? And then the Music Zoo somehow got all of them. I remember, I might actually have a picture of it. There was a white one he had. It looked like it was like a sort of slightly more tame version of the Circles guitar he had. And it's
oh yeah, it was at the Music Zoo, right?
Yeah, I've got it here. Hang on.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I love that. I think that's a smidge more inventive somehow, a little bit more artistic, and obviously that one's signed by him as well.
Yeah.
I would have
cool.
That. It's almost just make those.
just make
those. You'd shift tons of them. I think sometimes as well, a lot of people take from the Eddie Van Halen concept of just putting weird stuff on a guitar. I don't mean, and it's more the Eddie Van Halen attitude, to be honest with you, where people just change stuff up. But yeah, I think a lot of people would buy that. Obviously, investing in the idea of, it's a Van Halen guitar, but it's not so distinctly like a Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you go on stage with this, and it's like, yo, he's got a Van Halen guitar. Yep.
Yeah, I know. It's not got that vibe, and I think you can always get away with it with the Circles guitar as well. I think you have to be really in the know. You have to have seen the Oakland footage to know that's
why I had that one. I had that guitar for a while, and that's the reason I got that particular one, is so I could use it and not. People wouldn't be saying, "Hey, play Eruption," Nobody, only us, nerds and geeks would know what that guitar was.
Yeah. I don't know about you. I think they should drop the Raster now. You know, the one that Dweezil Zappa's got.
Yeah.
I think that's phenomenal guitar. That is, and but also that's the. Hang on, that is the Circles, isn't it? But it later became the Raster. It occurred to me. And then there are so many other sort of funny guitars as well. Obviously, all this footage of Eddie Van Halen's emerged since he passed. I didn't know he was a real user of a very short period of the Parker Fly. With that acoustic sounding pickup that he had in it.
He played one show. There was a show. It was out here. It was in Mountain View, California. It was one of the Neil Young Bridge School benefits, and him and Sammy played some songs, and that's what he played, was that Parker Fly. And I remember seeing on the news that night that they had played that, because I was here, and I was like, man, if I would have known, I would have been there at that show.
Yeah, it's a funny looking guitar though, and apparently I don't know if you guys have ever played a Parker Fly. I haven't even seen one in the flesh, let alone.
I have. Yeah.
Apparently they've got this crazy hyper skinny neck. Is that true?
Oh, it's super. The whole guitar is just super thin, super thin and super light.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm very curious to try stuff out. I mean, when I say try stuff out, I mean not like make a change for the difference, because I found, well, what I like.
Yeah, just to try something different, especially something like that is miles different. It's not like just something with like, oh, it's got a different radius on it, or the neck is a little beefier. It's a completely different thing.
Really different, you know. I mean, we're talking like, I mean, I very nearly I actually spec'd out a key. Yeah, that's it. The Parker Fly. It looks really, really crazy. It looks slightly like it was born near a nuclear reactor, but
it might have been.
It does look a bit crazy. I recently it was probably last summer I did it, and I don't know what made me not pull the trigger on it, to be honest, but I spec'd out a Kiesel Osiris. Not like I spoke to them and they said send me one or something like that. No, I wouldn't do that. I mean, why would they? But when it came to like looking at their guitars, I thought it'd be really cool one day to own a headless guitar. End of. And I really like the Osiris because it's got that it's sort of that sort of double cutaway strap style, but also it's the way they put they seem to get these sort of almost crazy sort of, you know, obviously you get that PRS 10 top term. You get you get some of them on Kiesels which are like an 11 top almost. They're practically, you know, like an aero bar. They're like practically 3-dimensional. It's crazy. I ended up speccing one of those out in Tiger Eye. I think that's what
guitar company again?
Kiesel.
He's not a fan. He's not a fan of. I had a nightmare of an experience with that company, and I would.
Oh really?
If they sent me the world's best guitar, I would tell them to shove it up their booty holes.
Oh my gosh!
Oh wow! Make sure it has a headstock.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them. You know, they make guitars for my buddy Jason Becker. You know, so.
Oh yeah,
so that's great.
Haven't they? That Yin Yang one.
Yeah. There's a brand new Jason Becker one. Yeah,
that looks smart. That's really, really cool. Hang on, I just happened to catch sight of a comment here. What was it, Stephen Douglas? What's the yellow guitar with the floating on the wall?
Yeah, let's change the subject. Yeah. Let's show a guitar. Hell yeah, show that thing.
Yeah, let's have a look at this one. Unsurprisingly, it's a Charbel, but it's the from the 2016 Neon range. I mean, again, these are
awesome.
Super rare. It looks like a sort of the color of like a taxi cab on this cam. It's obviously high vis.
But yeah, dude, it's the same thing with the yellow one that you spotted before on my end. If for some reason that fluorescent doesn't
show at
all. Like this guitar literally looks like it glows in the dark if you see it in person.
I know, it's absolutely mental, isn't it? And and I think there's an element as well where if you actually look at it for too long, you actually do your eyes do go a bit funny. After a while, it's actually you do start to go a little bit.
I need glasses.
Retina burning. And I've also got my my fave in here as well, which is I can't leave the house without it. It feels like this guy.
Oh, is that your number one?
That's my number one, yeah.
Look at that, man.
And this is a DK24 FR, and it's so funny. The reason why I ended up, this was a guitar I got on demo from Charbel, and I absolutely hopelessly sort of fell over like head over heels with it, because it was like, I mean, on paper the guitars are very, very similar. I mean, they say things like speed neck profile for the Sandemus, the Soquel, the DKs, and they all seem, you know, relatively sort of similar when you pick them up, but this one had just a different feel altogether. Don't know what it is. You guys will obviously know, and people watching will know that certain guitars, whether you pick them up in a store or certain ones that you have been lucky to get, they just have this sort of like magic dust on them where they just click for you. And this particular one just did it for me. And it was awesome. And it wasn't perfect actually when I got it. It ended up it was so funny. Like the guitar itself, it's like mahogany body, maple neck, all that stuff. And it was so resonant. Seems like a silly thing to say, but obviously it's a guitar, duh. But the funny thing with this is that the whole thing vibrates in a way that I've never felt on another guitar before. If you play it like an A chord, it's like the neck vibrates on. It's like your guitar just got a text. It's quite amazing. It's really, really weird, and you feel you hear people like Paul Gilbert and Steve Vai and stuff like that will say things like where you feel at one with the instrument almost. It's that kind of feel. This is the closest I've felt to it. Hey, that's a good picture. Really
Thank
cool.
You.
Nice.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
No worries.
I'm here with you. I'm still here with you.
No worries. I'll waffle on about this for a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of people assume this is a like a Phil Collin or something. And to be fair, I can understand obviously the DK shape, the gold hardware, and all of that stuff. But yeah, this one is my absolute fave. And also, I was really lucky with the top on this one as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man.
I mean, not bad at all. I mean, it also as well. I have a funny connection with this guitar as well, because the very first electric guitar I actually ever saw was an amber colored Music Man Axis that my dad had. And I don't know if that's a reason why in particular it stands out to me somehow or another, some weird spidey sense that I can't explain. I don't know. But the funny thing with this as well is I mean I'm obviously I've got neon finished guitars. I've got different. I've even got just sort of pure sort of natural wood guitars, like my Storm Shadow Paduk Vanquish, for example. It's which that's in the other room. I won't be getting it though. But it's, I don't know what it is. This is the only guitar I've actually got, which I hold it against myself, and it doesn't matter what I wear. I could look utterly ridiculous, and this will always sort of carry it off somehow. It makes anyone who holds it look good. And certain other guitars are like that as well. It's got that sort of loud, sort of quilt top look, and it's classy too. I just dig
classy, and also it has that shredder-esque vibe to it as well. It's you can play that at any gig.
Yes, it covers sort of every ground, so to speak, and I absolutely love it to death. It's so cool. I actually you're gonna think I'm mad. I mean, this became like my favorite guitar right at the start of the pandemic, just as when I work from home anyway, so it's not like I was missing going out, to be honest with you. But I ended up in this case, this was like my main guitar for doing all my lessons. I teach like 40 lessons a week, and it just became the go-to by doing that, to be quite honest. And that's where I sort of totally and utterly fell for it. But it was getting to the point where it's just I'm gonna have to almost like give this guitar a break, because it was getting to the point around, I don't know, maybe November going into December last year, where it was literally like, oh my god, I'm gonna wear the frets out on this guy, and I've not even left the house with it.
Good.
So, yeah, no joke. I mean, I'd play it. I mean, I do like between 6 and 8 lessons a day. Usually 8 lessons on a crazy day.
Wow.
And then that's on top of like whether we're doing YouTube videos, doing sessions for people. I've done a fair few sessions since the pandemic started as well, and it's just a case of it won't. I don't want to put the frets out on it, so to speak. I think that's the only thing, if I could ever, I'm not complaining, they make great guitars, but it's just that idea of, would stainless steel be too difficult now? But
you mean would it be too difficult to put them on that guitar?
Yeah, to put them on, yeah. Like, I mean,
if you found the right guy to do it, no. I mean, it's probably going to cost you a few bucks to do it, obviously, but
yeah,
I think the same thing as you. The few guitars that I've played, the only guitar I think that I have that has stainless frets is the Japanese Wolfgang.
Oh yeah,
and
that's nice.
They feel so good, man. God, and I'm heavy-handed with my left hand.
Yeah,
don't make any jokes, anybody.
Right.
But I'm the same way. Like, I almost want all my guitars to have stainless frets, because if you saw a couple of my guitars, you'd be like, holy shit, look at the grooves in those things,
Oh yeah, and when you're really making it, when you actually, when you fret a chord or something and you actually feel like a string disappear into one.
Yeah, the rut.
Yeah, that's when you're really wearing a guitar in. But yeah, I mean, everyone's got an absolute favorite guitar, haven't they? I mean, what are the favorite guitars that you guys own? Like the number one, if you could pick one.
Me?
Don't answer at once.
Him?
Yeah, it froze for me.
I had to make sure my mic was on. I love the Wolfgang specials. Even though this one, actually, this is a standard. This one behind me. Wait, no, this one's a standard neck with a special body.
All right.
And right now, it's like taken apart, so there's nothing there. But that's a nice guitar.
It's a nice guitar, but there's nothing in it.
There's nothing there. Nothing there. I think I saw him in here though. David Ennis gifted me a Wolfgang special, which is back here somewhere.
Awesome.
And that's that one. And I just, for years I've just loved the Wolfgang guitars. I love Fender. I'm a huge fan of Fender, and I play a Fender Telecaster, a Tele Custom. What is it called? 72 reissue.
Oh yes.
That I love. Yeah, and my Music Man, of course. Yeah.
I was gonna say, what about your Music Man, Johnny?
Yeah.
That's a good gold mine with that. Have you seen how much they're selling for now? Not the
yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't believe the amount of money people are selling them for, and obviously the amount of the price for anything is what someone's willing to pay for it, right? But I mean, the craziest one I've seen, I have my brother's always looking on Reverb and stuff like that. And anyway, he sent me a link to this one, and it was like a green one, and it sold for like $8.5 grand. Like, what? And you look at it and you're thinking, to be fair, that's going to a good home, whoever it is. But also, I found out how there's a website. It's like I don't know. It's like a really old sort of style website with all of these stats in about how many of the Music Man EVHs they made in each color. And apparently, the rarest one that you can get is they made one that was just solid black. And if you've got one, if on the off chance there is anyone in the chat with one, you're holding a guitar and they only made 16 of them. And if you're selling one of them, you are that is a like gold. If you're sat on a gold mine, if you own one of those, then the second rarest is they actually made a gold top one, which I think a few people have got. Which is I think they only made about 90 of those. Or something like that, maybe even less. But I know.
Does Jerry Cantrell have one of the gold tops?
I believe he did. Yeah.
And he had the floating.
Didn't Jerry Cantrell have the natural one as well?
Which one got stolen that he got back?
The gold top.
That was the gold top, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jumpy L. Is that true? Hey man.
I was looking here at the feed here.
Hey now.
Susan Silvestri, did anyone see Wolfie on the Today Show playing Distance with acoustic guitar? It was awesome. I've seen pictures of it.
I haven't seen it yet. People send it to me. I've got it. I'll check it out later.
I only saw the clip, and it was pretty damn good. Like his voice, it was his voice is really, really good.
Yeah, he's such like an emotional singer, isn't he, Wolfgang?
Yeah, he was putting it into it, man. He wasn't holding back, which
I was really, really impressed. I mean, I think to be honest, when Distance dropped, everyone's hearts broke a little bit.
I still haven't been able to. I haven't been able to finish watching the video.
Oh, really? Does it like hit you that hard?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that I have kids, and I know that was part of like when we talked earlier about, when Eddie passed away and stuff. Of course, when I saw Wolfgang's post, I was like, oh man. And, my heart just sunk and all that stuff. But once I saw Valerie's post, when, talking about that and with Wolfgang, that's when I kind of like, it hit me real good. So I think it's got to be the the parent thing that takes you over the edge with emotion when stuff like that happens.
I can understand that. Although I'm not in that position, I totally get it. The mad thing as well with that song is that even though it's like a tribute to his dad, obviously, anyone can sort of relate to it one way or another because it's about the people you can't be with.
Yeah.
And again, I think a lot of people with basically the Mammoth music, I think a lot of people are expecting it just to be Van Halen 2.0. And there might have been features of Eddie on there. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. But what I really like about the way he's done it is each song is incredibly different from what I can tell already. I've heard obviously You're to Blame, and I'm pretty sure I heard a teaser of another one.
Mm-hmm.
Which you know when something brand new drops and people leave teasers everywhere, where people pretend like, oh, I've got a snippet of Van Halen's new single, and it's actually their new single as a way of getting hits. It's a very good cheeky way of marketing. But I ended up hearing obviously Distance first, same way as everybody else. But then I heard it might have been just before Wolfgang went on Stern. And I heard You're to Blame somehow. Somehow someone sent me a link to that, and I heard it. And the solo on that song, unbelievable solo.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely got that. It's not played like Eddie, but that you can hear an attitude in it where it's like Van Halen wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. And I really like the way he sings. He sings with a lot of power. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way that's going at the moment, you know.
Yeah, kid's got some pipes. I'm excited to hear the rest of the record, man. I really am.
I am too.
What's funny when you mentioned, and Johnny will remember this because I think we've talked about this before, but you mentioned like people mislabeling things. So with their band, the Napster days. Now, Cameron, you were probably about 2 when Napster was, So that's what it would be. It would be like, you don't get to hear anything. You're scrolling on Napster and you just see like new Metallica song, blah, blah, blah. And you're like,
there's no preview. There's no preview. You had to download it. But back then, everybody was on dial-up. So you would spend an entire day just to download one song.
Yeah. Sometimes, especially. And then all of a sudden, if the connection would get interrupted, it stopped and you had to start from scratch.
Somebody calls.
Who picked up the phone? I'm trying to download stuff illegally here. But the same thing. It was like new Metallica, or I know one of the Tool records was coming out around the Napster time when it was big. And I honestly think what happened was Tool, their record label or somebody actually flooded Napster with fake songs so that they could get the real. And I was like, that's actually brilliant. Oh shit, our album leaked. Well, let's flood Napster with a bunch of fake songs so that people just give up. They don't know what's real or not.
Yeah, so you might end up with what might be the best like new Metallica single in ages, and it turns out it's just a band, I don't know, in a garage somewhere.
Yeah, guys trying to sound like Hetfield.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy the way people can do some stuff like that. Oh, tell you something. I had we were talking about changing or using different gear, not because you want to swap out and sell everything that you had, but just the idea of it's refreshing to play something different. I recently got a hold of a fantastic piece of kit, the Yamaha silent guitar. Have you ever tried one of those?
What?
Yeah, I love that reaction. Someone was going to do it. But the silent guitar is absolutely insane. It's basically, I haven't got it in this room. I could go and get it if you want.
You're going to have to, because I need to see that.
Yeah, I'll go and get it in a minute. So you guys will have to like talk amongst yourselves very quickly before I go and get it. But it's basically, in fact, I'm going to go and get it and then I'll talk about it. Be right back if you guys want to sort of distract each other for a moment.
Oh, okay.
Johnny and I have never spoken directly to each other on here, so this might be hard.
Right. All right. Let's do it. I'll be 10 seconds. Be right back.
Hi, Johnny.
I just Googled it. I just Googled this thing. Wow.
Oh, it's weird, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah. Very cool. So, hey, Jay, how are you, man?
Hi, Johnny.
Who are you?
How'd you get this link?
Where'd you get that phone number? By the way, there's a phone number right there. Send us a text, everybody. Text us pictures. Actually, I just got one here from Kurt 5150.
We are back. All right,
here it is.
Right, so you see that and you think, oh, cool. Just a regular 3x3 headstock. Then,
What the frig?
yeah, you look at that and you think, what the hell is this? And this isn't like an old, like a brand new product, if you know what I mean. There was like a first generation and a second generation of it, which was more generously shaped with a better cutaway and stuff like that. But this thing is absolutely awesome. A lot of people will be put off by it, thinking, "What on earth is this?" And I totally and utterly get it. It's like it's basically designed, obviously, to be like an acoustic. It's this obviously steel strung variation of the whole thing, and it's and when you play it, that's not as loud as it comes across.
Because it just moves your microphone, so it must be quiet.
Yeah, it's really, really quiet. Yeah, and the it's probably. I don't know how to describe it. It's obviously it's just basically like a mahogany frame, but it's about as loud acoustically as any sort of plugged in, like a regular electric, so to speak. But what's so cool about it is you've got like a little control panel down here. It's very hard to sort of show without doing it like a weird angle. But you've got a volume there, a blend, which I can talk about in a moment, a basic EQ, which is basically a bass and a treble. An aux where you can plug in your iPod to it and then go through backing tracks into headphones, which is really neat. And then you've got two effects, two reverbs and a chorus built into it.
Wow!
And it's basically a simulator of obviously an acoustic, but the and when I mentioned the blend switch before, on one side it says PU, which stands for pickup, and you know when you get that sort of DI sound from an electroacoustic where it doesn't quite sound like the real thing, but it's a usable sound nonetheless. Obviously, if you're in the studio or something, and I totally get why people would use it, that is in here, so it sounds great in that respect. But on the other side, you've got, it says mic, and it's kind of like a body resonance simulator, and it sounds like I mean, they do a nylon version of this as well, and if you go to that mic mode on the nylon version, it's like Spanish Fly, like your head's in the guitar. It's utterly insane, and it's super realistic, you know. So if anyone's after like a really crazy sort of acoustic guitar recording tool and you want a distinctive look doing it, you can't really go wrong with this. This thing is mental. Would recommend to anybody. And I'm at the moment recording the video for it. It's going to be certainly something very different from what I would normally do. I'm not inside, let's put it that way. Recording this one, I'm out and about with it as much as I can be, given lockdown at the moment.
Where can you get those?
They're available in stores. You know, I mean, it's like it's just the same as any other guitar. You can get them anywhere. I'm sure they'll be available on. I'm sure for you guys, I'm guessing Guitar Center, Sweetwater. Yeah, it'll be available there for no problem at all, in abundance probably, because I can understand a lot of people will look at it and go, yeah, well, but really cool guitar, and for anyone. Before, sort of beat people to the punchline, if there's going to be someone asks about the neck or something, it's actually quite a small neck. And so if you're something, you know, you get some like Gibson acoustics, which are like enormous. These are it's a really generous size, you know. And sorry, distracting myself. A really, really cool guitar, nonetheless. Stays in tune great too. Yeah, and also another thing they thought through. It's not that sort of pin design for restringing. You just go straight through there.
Oh, that's good. So
yeah, it's absolutely like a busker's wet dream, so to speak. And also, as it stands with portability as well. If you undo the strap pins, get ready. I didn't undo the other one enough. Get ready. Come on, I'm the most ham-fisted guy on the planet. There we go.
You broke it.
No, I didn't. So what you can do is you can take it apart, and it goes in a little gig bag. Everything that Yamaha make, it comes with a gig bag more or less, and it's dead easy to store, obviously. And when you're carrying it around, it doesn't advertise, look at me, I've got a 500-pound guitar on my back or whatnot. It just looks like you're carrying like a pack of golf clubs or something.
Wow, man, that's pretty cool.
Really cool. Definitely would recommend it. And also, it does the if you want to if I can't at the moment demo this right now, just given my current setup. But the if you ever wanted to, like, obviously Van Halen fans watching, if you wanted an idea of what this sounds like, just on like if you were to go to the full-blown mic mode, which is my favorite, and you wanted to just plug it straight into your THR or whatnot on like a flat signal, it's basically the sound of "Take Me Back," Deja Vu on the Balance album. It's basically
that's awesome.
It's so cool. I'd recommend sort of turning your heads towards it and just at least checking it out. Because if you're recording acoustic guitars, which so many people are now, it doesn't matter what style of music you're playing. I mean, normally if you're playing acoustic, you've got to buy a good acoustic that sounds nice. Then you've got to have a microphone or two, depending on your style, an interface, obviously the microphones themselves, stands, and then skill.
Yeah.
In order to get it to sound good, to get it to sound great.
Well, yeah, because acoustics, when you record acoustics, any kind of noise, it's coming through. You know, so
yeah, I know. They aren't the easiest things to record, but this thing eliminates the whole thing, and it obviously it doesn't feed back or anything like that. It's just the bomb. If I could ever floor it in any way, to be honest with you, is more colors, please. And also
especially on the top horn, especially at the top of the guitar.
I know you get it on
well, actually you could, no matter what color shirt you're wearing, that's the color of the guitar.
Yeah.
So you got to wear the craziest shirt going.
So you just need more shirts.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, no lie. And then in terms of this one, I've got it in translucent black. It looks like a really, really dark brown stain, to be honest. Although it's black here, on virtually any other camera angle you can get. If you see it right up close, it's just a super dark brown. Then you get on the side here, I've got worst light in the world. Forgive me, guys, but you see how it's all natural and sort of nicely sort of flamed along there.
Yeah.
You can get some that are basically that sort of natural sort of top right the way across. You get one in tobacco burst, not a burst on that much. A bit interesting. But then also you get you can get one that's kind of like it's like a matte red almost. Not like, we're not talking bright red, but it's some kind of sort of slightly subdued reddy crimsony color.
Blood red. Yeah. For the metal guys, you know.
Yeah, really, really cool. And also, if steel strings don't float your boat, there is a nylon strung version as well. So yeah.
Oh, somebody asked about Tom Lyle, Cam. He says they should do one with a whammy. Well, why don't you show them when you took off that whole top piece next to the bridge, and that's the whammy bar.
Oh yeah, you just screw that in.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing. Tom, we need people like you. Get into Yamaha. Invent some crazy stuff.
So how much would you say that thing weighs?
How much did it weigh? I have no idea. In terms of, oh god.
You guys weigh things to, like, was it something over there?
I think normally whenever we're weighing guitars, we do the same as you guys. We go in pounds. But I can't imagine it being much more than like maybe 3 or 4 pounds. It's nothing.
Wow.
I mean, if that. I mean, I only said the body. There is no body. It's a frame.
It's just the electronics and the neck, right?
Yeah. Every single one is basically neck heavy, but it would be. But it feels really, really nice. It's so cool, and it's not a tell you what, if you put it in the gig bag and sort of have it on your back, it's so light to think where you would forget you're holding a guitar on your back. You get some way what you're carrying. It's heavy enough, like a Les Paul or something. But yeah, it's definitely a keeper for sure. I absolutely love that thing to death. Amazing. So yeah, worth a shot. A bit of a sort of unexpected change there for you guys if you hadn't seen that before. Hang on, someone's what did that say? About 3.5 pounds. Is that is Ibanez GJ1? About 3.5 pounds.
Yeah.
Are you an owner of one?
And then Rick is saying 4 pounds. So it looks like it's about 4 pounds.
Ooh, what are you drinking there, Sonny D?
It's basically just squash with
That's
a
what
bit,
you guys
with a bit of vodka in there, you know.
Oh, well, you guys are healthy over there than we are in America here, where we just eat and drink crap all day, and you know.
I mean, there's a bit of vitamin C in there and a little bit of rocket fuel as well.
Well, you guys have seen those shows, right? Where it's like they have different people from different parts of the world try food from other parts of the world.
Yes.
And the main thing that I've noticed is when anybody from anywhere else tries American food, it's always like, whoa, this is salty. Oh my God, the salt, this thing just tastes like salt. Yep.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I want to be in that position. I want to try American food and give it a crack. The craziest stuff, if you guys are into sweets, if you want to, if you want a real like sugar rush, Sweden. The stuff oh yeah, there's this you will be able to buy them in the US, and it's called the Swedish vacuum cleaner, right? And a weird name for candy, I guess, but it's basically it's basically like marzipan, but it's like a black piece of chocolate, more or less, with a big green stripe running through it. At the minute, if you Google it, you're both googling it now, but if you check it out, you'll never be.
What is this?
You got it. I mean, I ended up trying it when I was in Sweden, of all places. It was that's a year ago. But I ended up.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
What is that?
It's a heart attack. Honestly, the craziest thing. I mean, I remember it was our studio engineer who got me onto those, and he basically said, right, you guys in the UK eat really bland shit. Pardon me. So basically, it was just a case of, right, now try this. I had one bite of it, and I could just feel my teeth rotting. It's the craziest thing. So if you guys if any sweet tooths watching, the Swedish vacuum cleaner is the way to go.
I mean, I've heard of the Swedish penis pump, but I've never heard of the Swedish vacuum cleaner. I thought maybe they'd be next to each other on the shelf. Pump, vacuum, pump, vacuum.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand, or
they do, don't they?
Yeah. Man. We got a question.
What you need to do though is put the vacuum cleaner inside the pump, and you get a bigger vacuum cleaner. It's great.
Johnny missed it. Thank God.
I missed that whole thing, but yeah.
That's all goes. That's not my bag, baby.
We got Ibanez GJ wants to know, Cameron, have you ever jammed with Liquid Charlie?
Liquid Charlie, no, I haven't jammed with him. I've spoken to him a few times, but yeah, I'd love to jam with him. He's a cool dude. So yeah, that pretty much answers that one. Yep. Pretty fast. He's a really cool guy. I always see him on Van Halen's news desk. Yeah, he's a really cool player.
Yeah, he is.
I've met him. I met him maybe a couple. Well, I've seen him a bunch on these shows. We've done several of these. But I met him at the NAMM show, and he played, and yeah, he's great.
He played at the he's a big advocate of the Boss Katana, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that I think that's how I found him. It was I think the Boss Katana. I don't know what the name of that combo is. Do they have a different name for each combo? Is the Katana the series or something like that? But it might be the Katana 50-watt combo or something. And he was promoting that or something at the NAMM booth or whatnot. And the Boss booth, I just remember it being in sort of Blade Runner blue lights, the whole thing. And
Boss Blue.
Yeah,
I was there. I think I was there.
Yeah. It was that. particular show where I found him, and then for the longest time I didn't think he was a Brit, but he's really, really cool. Great player with a great guitar collection as well. Speaking of like guitar collections, I recently happened upon, it was through Liquid Charlie. I happened upon I always get his sort of the pronunciation wrong, but his name on Instagram goes by Gert Metzger. Gert Metzger?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys all know him.
I've known him for years. And Boner Jams.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
How does he get the stuff that he's got? What's this? Does he know something we don't? Like, he's got like a Van Halen museum.
Yeah. He does. He does. Yeah, he's got everything. Every model. Does he have the music? Yeah, he has everything. I see him on Instagram all the time.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, the stuff that he's got. And there's one guitar that he's got right now, and I mean, I don't know if he knows or has some kind of connection with the Van Halens personally. I'm not sure. Is he in the States, or is he? It didn't sound like it by his name, but
no, he's in.
I'm just bringing up Instagram here.
He's in. I want to say Switzerland.
Hang on, let's have a look. Yeah.
Oh, we got a guitar question. Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's in Switzerland. There's a particular Wolfgang he's got right now. Yeah, it's this one. It's like, where's this beauty showing up from?
Oh yeah, look at that, man.
Yeah.
Would you look at that?
Yeah. I mean, that looks like, I mean, obviously with it's a case of was that custom made for him? What is it?
It's custom. It's custom made. It's custom made. And Patrick has a question for you, and I know we're running low on time.
Are we?
Yeah, we're coming up on.
I'm doing good actually. I'm pretty.
Oh, you're awake? Okay.
I'm pretty awake. You know, I'm doing all right. I'm pretty awake. I reckon I could carry on. Actually, it's going. I originally sort of forecast at the start of the stream I'll probably die after like 90 minutes, but I'm doing all right actually. So, what was the question from Patrick?
Patrick says, do you see that on the screen? Love your playing. Any chance you could demonstrate your technique for bending vibrato?
Yeah, sure. You get like guitar lesson sort of style. Yeah, all right. 1 second.
And yes, Patrick at this as well. Like Cameron does do guitar lessons. So
I do.
Before you show anything,
yeah.
But before you, no, I was gonna say. How can people get in contact with you to get a lesson or lessons?
DM me through Instagram. My Instagram is, I don't know, I should have put it, like, I should have thought ahead and put that as my name at the bottom here. But yeah,
you can change it.
My can I? How?
You go to
how do I do that? I just saw a big red X that says "Leave Studio" and don't want to click
that.
Yeah, don't click that one. You click the 3 dots, and then edit name.
Edit name. All right, okay. So my Instagram is.
I'll change my name too.
All right. Save. That right? It should have changed now. That's my Instagram handle. And then the other one. The other way of contacting me is my email address, camcooperguitar@gmail.com. So if you want to book a lesson with me, and it'd be good to see some of you there for sure. I teach Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So I'm about to go into a Saturday of teaching. Actually, it's going to be fun. Awesome. That's it. I cover techniques, songs. It's mainly Van Halen, just given the nature of a lot of you guys are my subscribers. And there may even be 1 or 2 students in the chat. I'm not sure. I'm aware of 1 or 2 who were watching before. But yeah, I talk all kinds of different techniques, styles. I often tell my guitar story, how I got into it, because not a lot of people really know. A lot of people have seen my progress video, which is like my like the tangible results of me sat there for hours and hours. But I've never talked about like my guitar breakthroughs and how I sort of I don't know how to describe it. Sort of because the breakthroughs happen in your head, not in your hands.
Yes.
And that's how I I'm probably going to end up doing a video about this at some point, but that's a lot of the things that I talk about in there, and I try and share with people. It doesn't matter how old you are or what your experience is, because a lot of people will email me saying, I feel like I'm an intermediate player or I'm an advanced player, blah, blah, or maybe even they're a complete cold start beginner. And I've never liked that idea of pigeonholing someone or categorizing someone based off of what they feel their ability is. I agree that everyone's a beginner at some point. I mean, it's just the way it is, the nature of the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's once you've started to maybe learn a couple of different songs from maybe a couple of different genres, you might have a ZZ Top song down, then you might have a funk song down from somewhere. That's where I'd say intermediate starts. If you were looking at it in like a technical perspective, because you've actually covered a lot more ground than you think. But also, then people will say, this person's advanced, or my understanding or my playing is advanced, so to speak. And where I think the fine line is between intermediate and advanced as far as players is concerned, I don't know if any of you guys would agree or not, but it's about not necessarily technique, but it's more your understanding of the instrument, like knowing where to go. I will get to vibrato in a second, Patrick, or what did you want to it's more the idea of it's that idea of knowing where to go and that ability to hear something in your head and go after it, if that makes sense. So, for example, you get people, I think, just to speak just in general terms, I think whether he's your favorite guitarist or not, I think Guthrie is widely respected as probably one of the best guitarists on the planet, if not the best. I've had a lot of people say he's definitely not my favorite, but he's way better than my favorite.
He's one of those guys that you like when you watch him play or hear him play, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah,
you know, it sounds like somebody from a different planet playing the guitar. And it's like all fluid and just unbelievable. Yeah,
and plays everything virtually effortlessly. It's really quite annoying, but honestly, it's amazing. But then you get people like, I mean, I'd say, technically speaking, everyone's distracted by the tangible stuff, that how good their tapping is, how good the picking is, and all that stuff. Yeah, that's great technique because he's doing what he wants to do in that respect and trying to put his point across. But then you get someone like Dave Gilmour, who I can only assume has a fair bit more money than Guthrie's got. And look at him, he's not got like he's not got the technique and chops of Vi or Paul Gilbert or the people we watch, and Eddie Van Halen and stuff like that. Not the same at all. But can he like find the chords that he wants and write a kick-ass solo, and all the note choice comes from his understanding of the instrument? That to me is what advanced is. It's like, how well do you know the instrument to put your point across? That's where it starts. Sorry, go on.
I don't want to put the mini lesson off too much longer, but now you got my brain going bananas, because you're right. And Johnny on Saturday Night Show, we always talk about this, and Caleb brings it up a lot. You know, it's like Eddie has said in the past, it's about the tunes. It's about, you mentioned Gilmour, and that's a perfect example. He doesn't, when you watch him, you're not watching him burn the fretboard up. No. Those notes that he's hitting are grabbing you and make like, can you hit one note to make people go, oh? Most people are like, all right, what can I fit in this one bar to make people go, oh my God, you see that guy play that lick? Whereas guys like Gilmour, they can play one note and bend one note, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And that's more
note in Comfortably Numb, for example. It's absolutely mental. 1 second, just slightly getting some volume in it. So right, but it's when he'll throw in like these one or two insane bends. I remember I recently watched the Pulse gig. What was that, 94 or something like that? And there's one sort of part he does in actually one sec while I'm doing this stream. If I play something that's copyrighted, does that demonetize you? Yes, I saw a very distinct
so play the poor man's version.
so I'll play something like it. You'll get that infamous sort of overbend to kill it. But the idea of that sort of idea from Another Brick in the Wall, kind of, and then that indistinct. Still waking up. Really good. But anyway, there's another lick that really stood out. Obviously, as you were saying, Jay, where he plays one note and it grabs you, and it's that sort of when that makes that root note stand out all the way more, you know. Anyway, to get to Patrick's thing about vibrato, I'll try and make it as quick as I can without waffling on for too long.
No,
But I think me not being a patron saint of vibrato, but I find like the common trends that make it that make vibrato very distinct. If you want to go for that really wide sort of, for me, my heroes are Satchel, J.K. Lee, and Eddie Van Halen, of course. Always to keep coming back to that guy because he inspired everyone else who I've been inspired by as a result. They all seem to bend, obviously, kind of if you're using your index finger and they rotate that way. And it's not done with the force of the finger where you're closing it and pulling it down. It's that idea of sort of you're pivoting on your thumb and sort of rotating this way. And then if you're using any other fingers, it's usually there are other fingers on the same string tagging along for the ride. And that's probably sort of stating the obvious there almost. But if you're bending up, for example, that there I'm fretting with my ring finger, but I'm rotating my hand and pushing up with those two fingers as well. So that's how you get
Proctology 101, right?
Yeah, basically. And it's that kind of, and then the art in it as well is knowing, to quote Guthrie Govan here, how much each bend hurts, you know, like that idea of if you're it's how far, or remembering how it feels to achieve a certain pitch, and then recreating that in different parts of the neck as it goes. And sometimes if some people can have a hard time of hearing where the correct pitch is if you are bending up. Sometimes this is where I'll use like the inlays to help. If you guys want to bend a whole tone up on the B string, it doesn't matter where you are on the fretboard, more or less. It's basically aim for the dot. If you want to go for a whole tone, cover that dot, and you've hit whole step.
Oh, I never even thought of that.
Yeah, it sounds like a really silly thing. It doesn't matter where you are. It could be first octave, and then sort of do your vibrato around that dot point. That's where the sort of the sound rings out. And then same up here. It's the same thing. So that's a good way.
Except not on your number one though.
Not on my number one. Not on a good point. That's where I'll get a bit cheeky and basically say between where the D string and the G string naturally rest. Yeah. Oh God, man, it's like a broken record. I say that a lot in street. You would not believe it. It feels weird saying it, not in this context. But the hang on, 1 second. Whoa, hang on. You guys still see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Would your screensaver come on?
Yeah, my screen went down. Hang on. I freaked out for a minute. I black screened for a second there. I was like, shit. But like, in the middle of a stream, how embarrassing. Right, I'm back now though. When it comes to vibrato, it's knowing the how far to go, because a lot of the time it's basically bending but sped up almost. And just to demonstrate further with vibrato sort of technique, if you like, if you're aiming for, and I'm guessing that's what most people here are aiming for, the sort of Van Halen heavy rock style. If you ever wanted to sort of quantify how far to go so that it sounds crazy and wild, the best way to look at it is treat your bends as almost like a whole tone bend. So for example, if I'm on the G string, 7th fret, I bend up a whole tone with my index finger sort of down towards the floor and then let it go. It sounds really weird when you play it slow. It sounds broken. But when you speed it up, it's that, and it's finding a good comfortable tempo. If it's too fast, you slightly kill it, in my opinion. If it's too slow, it sounds a bit broken, as I said before. So it's finding that sort of nice balance. I try and aim for almost like a it's almost like I don't know if this is just down to what I've heard before now, but it's almost like a vocalist sort of vibrato. You know, it's not too slow. It's almost like maybe like an opera singer, maybe, where it's slightly slower vibrato, so to speak. And then you can be a little bit more subtle. I think sometimes you can say a lot more, not with speedy vibrato, but with vibrato that isn't always super strong. So it might be half a step, for example. In this case, I'm going to same place, but instead of going where it goes really far, do it half a tone.
Yeah.
Maybe half a tone. It can sometimes make a note that comes afterwards sound way, I don't know, meaner somehow. I don't know what it is. But then if you want to go to the other extreme end of things, where if you want to be, I don't know, Jakey Lee or something, where you might have that kind of idea, especially that first bend there. Ooh, choking out. But what the idea with that one is I'm bending more or less 2 whole tones. That's it. So funny thing at the moment, with it being winter and everything, with the heating being up and down and everything like that, it's played havoc with 1 or 2 of my guitars, and they're just sort of. I've actually had to move them all into another room to cool down. And some of them, it's played a little bit of a havoc with the action. This one's sort of surviving more or less. So yeah, that's where it comes from, you know. So you're bending a little bit further than you normally would. That was about 2 whole tones there. Sorry.
But it is all about the context of the music too. You want to give it whatever kind of sauce for that part that you want. Yeah. And you know, I mean, from writing solos and songs and stuff, it's you try different things. Like, what if I tried a little different something here? What if instead of bending up to that note, you know, I slid up to it? There's different ways of looking at it, and I think that's the fun part about music is, you know, trying different things to attain whatever kind of feeling or whatever you're going for.
Yeah, and that's the and also that's the most beautiful thing about the guitar as well, because it's such an eclectic thing. You can often find the technique you need, or the guitar will accommodate the technique you need to express yourself to a given extent. Doesn't matter what it is, whether you want to be super flashy or play with as much feel as physically possible. The guitar will do that. It's not like on a piano where you're just turning notes on and off.
Yeah,
it's literally you've got so much control over what you can do with a guitar. And then also the same goes with the bar as well. If you want to do it, you can be really, really sort of not with this exact. I'd probably be better with the other one. I'm gonna switch to that. Now I'm in lecture mode. 1 minute. One sec. Amber, here we go. You'll hear as well how much more lively this one is. That one I just played is a Japanese model. This one's a Mexican one, and it's just so much more lively, you know. That was half volume.
Are they the same pickups?
No, and they're actually less powerful pickups as well. This is the full shred and the Alnico 2 Pro.
Wow.
Yeah, the full shred, that was I found out it started out in life as a Vivian Campbell signature pickup, and then the Alnico 2, this is the sort of stock Seymour Duncan Alnico 2 pickup. The only signature pickup I can think of that involves an Alnico 2 is the Slash one. After that, I don't know anymore, but they're both quite a tame set of pickups. But if you ever wanted to do stuff in terms of it, this is just my opinion, you know, when it comes to sort of the expression on the instrument, you know, with vibrato, you know, you can go really wild like any sort of crazy sort of rock guitarist you could think of, like a Lukather or something is one of my favorites when it comes to vibrato, like Hold the Line and stuff like that. Pat Thrall as well. You want a slightly more obscure one, and I find that it's all about whether it fits the vibe of the song, if you know what I mean. For example, if you're playing something like I'll never forget attempting Another Brick in the Wall for the first time and doing it with the same vibrato I felt at the time I was used to. You know, it just doesn't work the same. If you can make it work, you're a genius. But it just didn't work for me. You know, just doesn't have the vibe. You just gotta. It's quite subtle. Anyway, in terms of the stuff you can do with the bar as well, you can be. I recently dropped a video on this. where you can be really crazy with it. That's a cool. No one's not seen that trick before. That's actually a Van Halen trick that's never talked about. The idea of hammering on the 12th fret and going down.
Yeah.
No one talks about that, and I didn't raise it in the video. So, Johnny Beane TV fans, you got a bonus lick there. But when it
awesome.
Where are these sound effects coming from? You got a box or something?
We're trying to figure that out too.
Yeah. Really cool. So yeah, if you guys want to try that, it's just hammering on to it doesn't matter which. It tends to work on the wound strings best. But yeah, A string there, 12th fret, and bring the bar down. So it sounds really weird. And then also you can be really, really subtle. One trick I talked about, you know, every whammy bar trick's got the most ridiculous name ever. Like the flutter, gargle, dive bomb.
Tiger claw, all that, whatever the hell.
Yeah, the best one I've heard after doing this video, I'd never heard of it before. It was called like the lizard swallow or lizard down the throat trick.
What?
Yeah, where it's a Joe Satriani trick, which is amazing.
Oh, I saw him do that in person.
Yeah, you did.
I saw him. He did that at the Jason. I was at the Jason Becker Not Dead Yet, the show that's in the end of the documentary. I was there.
You were there.
I was there. Yeah. And I remember watching him. I filmed his entire set, so it's on the channel here. I was like right up in front of him, and I know exactly what you're talking about, man. It's Jay. Do you know what he's talking about?
No,
it's the craziest.
The idea is that I've never ever attempted it, but the idea is that you're sliding the string down the, in this case the G string, like down the fretboard with one hand, but you're trying to maintain the pitch, the same pitch with the bar. Yeah.
Hold on. You know what's funny about that? I have a solo on my band's new album where I do the exact opposite. I actually hit a note and I slide up but drop the bar at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
That's the trick.
Yeah, that was like a I didn't know the name of it, but that's
yeah.
Was it on not of this earth? What? There's some early Satch that he does something like that on it, and I didn't know that was what it's called. The Tiger.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got it wrong. Someone in the stream will correct me for it, but it's basically like it's called something like the lizard swallow or lizard down the throat trick. Something else just came from. I like the panty drop of cream language.
I like that one too.
What does that sound like?
Oh yeah.
Because I want to know it. But, I don't know. But you can be really subtle with it as well. There's one trick I sort of tried to make out. It's like a sort of tip the hat, not as good version of when Jeff Beck will do that sort of slide guitar trick. And it's actually surprisingly sort of easy to do when you do this. If you take like any major chord, like so, and this is just like your typical sort of kind of idea there: 7 on the D, 6 on the G, and then 5 on the B and high E. And a lot of people will just fret a chord and then dip the bar. All perfectly pleasant and nice, love it. But then what you can do instead is you can come down, treat it like an arpeggio almost, and I'm doing 3 upstrokes here. Get to the 3rd note there, dip it down, so you've got that sort of swoop down into what would be basically like a slightly dipped triad almost. Then you resolve it on the root, and you get that pseudo sort of slide guitar trick. And then you can do the same with the minor triad as well, where you flatten that to the minor 3rd there, and it works really nicely. So you can come up with a home for that one if you want to try some stuff out with that one. And while I've got the guitar here, I feel like I'm taking up a ton of sort of
no,
chat.
Dude, that's why you're here, man. That's why you're here.
If there are any other sort of guitar questions that I might have missed, I may have. I'm not consciously looking at the comments all the time. So,
well, Cam, when we don't see all the comments, that means the show is rocking.
All right,
that means there's shit going on here. Where usually if we're just eyeing the chat, that means
if we're just sitting here just like drooling, waiting for the next comment.
We can talk about. But yeah, honestly, so yeah, it's totally cool. It's nice. When you're in a good stream, as you mentioned, when you're missing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got another comment. Brendan, hang on. So you got how's the slide guitar going? It's going really well, man. I'm playing the Cigar Box guitar a lot at the moment. It's coming out in a video.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, you guys got me.
Cigar Box guitars.
It's right here, in fact. Look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this thing. It's so. I'm gonna get it in honor. Hang on. Hang on. Let me get it. I've got to reach in to get it here. 1 second. On a tiny little thing in the corner. Wow. There you go. Brendan Boyce's creation.
It's very nice. That's awesome.
I don't have a slide close to hand, I don't think.
Use your glass.
It's not a glass. It's
use a whammy bar.
Hang on. Wait a minute. I do have a slide. 1 minute. I know I've got one.
What is that neck made out of, Brendan?
Oak, I think.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's oak. Then what's my tuning here? Right, okay, let's do it again. And I'm not a man full of slide tunes, but I'm trying to put something together. Well, it's funny when you're sitting with this again, about having come from a Strat, but a little bit of. There's a guy on YouTube. I think it's Justin Johnson. If no one's heard of him, I mean he's mega. I'm just thinking about the people who are here because what we watch. He might not be known, but he's got a massive YouTube channel, insane following, and he does a lot of these really cool sort of cigar box guitar covers and lessons and things. And he did a particular Leonard Skinner cover, and it grew paining me now. I can't remember the name of the song. I usually can. It's got guns in the title, but it's that sort of. And that's the reason I'm holding this, is because I'm learning that at the moment. My slide game is really embarrassing when give me back those bullets. That's it. Thank you, Brendan. So I love the tone of it. And also one thing I've got to remind you guys of as well, that's a humbucker. I find that absolutely mental. It sounds really crazy. I mean, it always blows my mind, this guitar, when I play it. So you can do chords with it too. It's really cool. Also, you also do rip off a little Van Halen meets Kinks cover on there as well.
What's it tuned to?
This one's tuned to F sharp, C. Hang on, yeah, F sharp, C sharp, F sharp.
That's cool.
So it's kind of like a basically if you're going from sort of a standard tuned perspective, tune it to a G chord. And then just dip it down, so it's a dip it down a half step. Yeah, really cool. Absolutely love it. Yeah, so yeah, Brendan Boyce's B squared cigar box guitars.
So if anybody wants one of those, contact Brendan. Sorry, I know him as Brendan Buttcheeks. We worked at IBM together years ago. So that's how I know Brendan. Yeah. So sorry, Brendan B squared.
Let's keep this down.
I don't want to ruin his business by calling him butt cheeks, but I just can't help it. Can't help myself.
Oh yeah, he makes insane guitars. He's a talented bloke. Awesome. All right. For great, I just saw a comment here. For great shovel guitars, Southern Rock and Blues, I highly recommend that. Check out Justin Johnson. That's who I just mentioned. So yeah, it's
Awesome.
really cool. Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
Six Chick. Welcome.
Fantastic.
There's a lot, man. I'm scrolling back through the comments and I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of stuff that was going on here. But more or less, it's just people, you know, it's not like asking questions, just chiming in, talking to people, which is cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
I'd say one thing I forgot to mention to you guys, actually, you probably already know about it. Did you guys see the new to me anyway, Van Halen live gig from the Balance album that was dropped from the Balance tour? Yeah, there's Johnny. He knew about it. Was it Irvine, last gig of the Balance tour?
Irvine, California. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm guessing. Were you at that one too?
No, I wish I was. No, I wasn't.
Oh yeah, I watched that and I was absolutely glued to it for so long. It's so good. So where's that come from? Why now?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff that's come out. I would say my favorite thing that I've seen is the MTV, the Chris Connolly tour through 5150.
Yeah, that's
Did
cool.
you see that one?
Yes. That was really cool. You know, he's talking about the it's that famous thing where the only thing I remember taking from that was where he's looking at these shelves full of tapes and ideas, and it's like the only person who's going to go through that is me because I know what I like. And I'm like, now someone's got to have the honor and privilege to go through all of it. Listen to it and break it all apart.
Wolfgang talked about that. He said,
he did?
Yeah, when he was on Howard Stern, he said that eventually, at some point, him and Alex are going to go through that stuff and maybe release something. Could be years from now. It would not be soon.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot to go through. To be fair.
Well, Sammy actually brought that up as well on was it with Eddie Trunk or somebody?
Yeah,
I forget who it was, but I apologize if you know I can't remember. But he said that, you know, because he heard Wolfgang say the same thing, and he's like, you know what I would love to hear, and it's there, it's got to be there, is that first time Sammy went to 5150 to jam with Van Halen, like that. Don Landy recorded that whole thing. So that would be something that I, you know, obviously would love to hear. Like that first time that they ever made, like, you know, jam together. Like, holy shit.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that right now. Like that would be so cool.
I'd love to hear some of that, you know. I mean, who doesn't want to crack open the Van Halen vault and have a little nosy around? And I think to be honest, a lot of people when it's the artist who has to dip back through their whole sort of collection of demos and ideas, it's never as good because they're super critical about what they like, what they make, and often than not they'll hate an idea that they've got that other people will actually love. And also the beautiful thing with Van Halen as well is the way they chop and change stuff. Like for example, you had the original demo of She's the Woman. The bridge section for that is the section that eventually became the Mean Streets bridge section, and there's probably many more scenarios like that. But the funny thing is that if someone else goes through the Van Halen sort of archive, they'll find loads of really, really cool stuff. I'd love to know. I think this was leaked a few years ago now. I'd love to have illegally downloaded it. To be honest with you, is they leaked a load of the not guide tracks for things like Balance and Can't Get This Stuff No More and stuff like that. It's basically those songs fully mixed and mastered, but with no vocals on.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you guys or have heard them and may have them, but I don't know. I'd love to know where they ended up because
what is it?
I remember
like the isolated stems, like the guitar track by itself, right? Vocals by itself, drums by itself, that type of thing.
Yeah, they showed up. I remember listening to one day. It was I think it came out through Van Halen News Desk. I could be wrong on that, so don't go looking for it. But I do remember distinctly listening to Can't Get This Stuff No More, fully mixed, fully mastered, the whole thing. But
okay. I remember that.
And what was it, about 7 years ago or something like that? That was leaked or something like that. And
I might have that.
Yeah, and
because it was taken down. They got rid of it.
Yes,
I might have saved that.
Oh yeah,
Maybe.
Send it to me.
Yeah,
I want it to. Yeah, I really want to hear that because it was from sort of I use a Steve Vai word, internalizing. I've got I don't know what it is. When I hear things, it just goes in there. Often it's the unimportant stuff that goes in. It's I don't know. Is that a guy thing? I don't know. But anyway, all the unimportant stuff goes in. But one thing that did stay in there after having heard that sort of isolated minus Dave version of that song was the verse riff for Can't Get This Stuff No More. It's genius. It's so clever, and on the tone that he had on that album as well. It was just album song, absolutely crazy. That was apparently an outtake from Balance. I don't know what it is. I seem to go back to the Balance album a lot because when I found Van, that's a question for you guys. I'll ask you. I'll tell mine in a minute. How did you guys find Van Halen? And this is just for me. Sorry if you guys already know. But how did you guys discover Van Halen? Like, when was the moment you were put onto them and it all changed?
Him?
Johnny, you go.
Me?
You go.
Oh.
Well, Johnny, you go now.
I remember their videos on MTV in '84.
Mm-hmm.
I remember running past the TV and seeing Hot for Teacher and Jump, and I thought the videos were funny. I thought Hot for Teacher was hilarious, the music video for that.
Sorry.
Yeah. But I didn't actually get into them until I was watching the movie Back to the Future. And then there's a part where Marty McFly puts the cassette tape in the player, little tape, and it says Edward Van Halen.
Yeah.
And once I heard that, I'm like, oh, I gotta get into this. And then I went out and I bought the first new record to come out at that time was 5150. So I bought 5150, and then literally the next day bought Van Halen 1, and then saved up for each record, Van Halen 2, Fair Warning, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I had them on cassettes. I had them on LPs.
Yeah.
0812 was the first new album to come out that I bought on CD. And I bought the CD. I bought it on CD first, and then went and bought a CD player so I could play it.
Yeah, you got it home like, wait, this doesn't play in the toaster?
Yeah. And then ever since then, it's just been, it's all been Van Halen to me. And I didn't see all the negativity until I got on the internet in 1999. And,
it saw that people were crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you, Jay? When was the moment your life changed?
Well, I'm lucky enough to have an older brother who's 4 years older than me. So I, when I was young, I just wanted to be whatever he was, do whatever he was doing. So I actually had a discussion with him a couple of years ago when I started doing the show with Johnny and Dave about like what was the first Van Halen tape that you bought? And he couldn't remember. He said he thinks it might have been Women and Children First.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember him listening to that stuff. And I remember the day he actually bought the Fair Warning tape. I was staring at the cover thinking like, this is, and I was probably, like 7 years old or something.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at the album cover and even listening to the tape at the time. And that's one of those albums that the cover has the same like vibe or
of the album.
Yeah, as the music. That's one of those ones. It's like a dark album cover, very eerie and just like something about it just makes you like, ugh, even though it is awesome, obviously, but the music has that same type of tone to it. And it's just the same thing. And like Johnny said about the negativity, Roth or Hagar, I was so young at the time. I'm 43 now. I know I'm like twice your age, dude. Don't, whatever. So, I was young enough where I had no idea. You know what I mean? It was just all of a sudden, oh, the guy that was in the Hot for Teacher video isn't the singer in Van Halen anymore. It's the guy that was in the whatchamacallit,
55.
well, not even before 55 with the 3-lock box, the 3-lock box video, and then obviously 55 video. So I was at the young age where I had no idea about how bands work and all that stuff. So I'm lucky enough where Van Halen is Van Halen to me. Obviously, the music is a little different. It's got a different attitude to it, but it's Van Halen. And I'm lucky enough to love both of those eras almost virtually equally, So
that's really cool. It's really great to hear how people discover it, because when people do, it's always the same reaction. Like when you hear Eruption for the first time, for example, and everyone's like, what on earth's going on? Obviously, the technical aspect sort of creeps in. I wouldn't even know what that would look like, and when I first heard it. But also, I think I heard Spanish Fly before Eruption. Oddly enough, I had a weird way of listening to things in a stupid order. But when as a funny sort of part of my sort of guitar playing life. As I said, I can't remember. I can't remember if I said this off camera or no. I said it on here. It was when I was holding Amber. The first guitar I ever saw, as electric guitar I ever saw, was an Amber Music Man Axis, and it's a weird story beginning, but it has a point. I was about 3 when I first saw it, and it was when my dad was. We're in the living room, and when you sat on the floor and you're 3 and everything's sort of huge around you. I remember going over to my dad, who's plugged into like a Boss effects unit of some kind. It might have been like the ME50 or something like that, and he had headphones in, not coming out of speakers or anything like that. And I went over to him and asked if I could basically borrow the headphones. And anyway, he gives me the headphones, and something like where my pick went. It's something like going into Van Hagar mode now. Something like oh, that's louder than I thought it would be. But you got it. That sort of with that sort of balancy tone at the time. Although playing a Dave song, it was that kind of thing he played, and I immediately associated that sound of the guitar with everything I'd heard coming out of the car speakers, the radio at home, and from different bands. So it was immediately, I've got to do that. So immediately that kind of style of guitar playing took a back seat in my brain. And then eventually, I mean, when I started out, it was ZZ Top and Blackmore and AC/DC and all of that stuff. And I was comfortable in that world for a really long time. But Van Halen didn't start to creep in until I was probably about maybe 10. And
hold on, before we go any further, when did you actually start playing guitar?
I started playing. I picked it up for the first time for around the time of my 4th birthday.
Wow, man.
And don't worry, I wasn't straight in.
I wasn't shredding as soon as it's this thing.
No, it was basically a case of woohoo, guitar, MIDI strat, amazing. And then suddenly it was, oh shit, I don't have a clue how this is done. And I do remember being really young, having sat there with this guitar I couldn't believe I was holding, and my dad had it. It was like, when you get those like micro stacks. I had a Marshall micro stack, and I remember my dad showing me how to do a D chord. And we're not talking like D major or D minor or anything like that, just AC/DC style. And I remember sort of just about as much as my fingers could manage, and then maybe that sort of Wayne's World pick scrape, and that was about it. And I was perfectly happy in that world for a long time. But then I think I might have got distracted by something else and just went on. But I was always sort of bitten by the bug, if you know what I mean. I never it never fully left. I'd periodically return to it, and then it wasn't until my folks split up that I really got into the guitar again, because it was a nice place to. It sounds really like I'm traumatized when I say this. It's not the case at all. It was a shitty thing to deal with, but I sort of hid behind the fretboard, if you know what I mean. It was a nice place to go, to be honest. And the band that both parents shared a love of, so I could practice at both houses without pissing anyone off, was AC/DC. So that's where the whole thing began, obviously. And then my mum's not musical, so she can't like teach me anything per se. But my dad was showing me like your cowboy chords, and after that it was more a case of try this, try that. Not a case of you must learn this, you must learn that, and sat me down with it. It was basically a case of here are the chords, learn what you like. And to be fair, it was an absolute blessing in disguise, because that really forced me to, and same goes if any parents watching, you want your kids to get into it, it's basically a case of make them use their ears earlier. Because what I ended up having to do was basically listening to the familiar chords from different songs. You might have that same sort of, that's from Free or something, and then you've got that same chord in Back in Black and every other rock song on the planet. I could hear an A chord everywhere. So that kind of really helped my ability to pick stuff up, not only by ear, but also where you start to transcribe and start your own sort of mental map of the fretboard, if that makes sense. That's where it all started. And then it all, with every new song I'd attempt and learn, and obviously it didn't sound great at that age. It's just, I think in the first years of playing, everyone's heads are further ahead than their fingers, if that makes sense. That the idea of they know what to do, but it's just doing it.
Well, yeah, when you first start playing, I mean, I didn't start till I was 15. Thanks, Nerd Halen.
Thanks, Nerd Halen. I appreciate it.
But I mean,
I
remember like getting the guitar in my hand, or my hands, and I'm watching Live Without a Net and watching all these, the MTV era and all that stuff of these guys shredding and making it look easy. And I'm holding this piece of crap harmony guitar. I don't know how to hold a pick. I don't know what to do with my finish. Just one note, one finger. You know what I mean? And then, I watched a video of Doug Mark's Metal Method. That was the shit.
All right.
And taught you how to play, a power chord. And then once I learned that, I was like, oh, okay. So, going up and down the fretboard with just holding chords. And then your finger, like you talked about, your fingertips are killing you. The action is a mile off the fretboard. Johnny's used to that. And once
I remember this conversation from the last stream. Sorry, yeah. Go on.
So I still remember when it clicked and I fell in love with guitar was when as soon as I learned how to palm mute. It was just like jin, jin, around the whole house, man. It's jin, jin. I started gent when I started playing guitar. That's basically palm muting to me was like the coolest thing, because I was heavy into Metallica back then. Still am. But once I heard what I was listening to come out of what I played, and obviously, like you said, what didn't sound the same, but it was, it was that palm mute gin, and I heard from all those Metallica songs. That's when I kind of fell in love, and I was like, oh my God, this is cool as hell.
It was so cool.
I want to play guitar.
Yeah, it's a big part of the whole thing. You've got to have that moment where you're bitten by the bug. For you, it's that sort of James Hetfield really digging. Yeah, I can never get right, and it sounds really crazy. I mean, it doesn't matter how hard I try. It might sound similar, but I can never quite get it somehow. Anyway, I mean, I really like that actually. How it was that technique that sort of got you into the idea of riffing out and really rocking. That's really interesting. I found, as I say, it was when I saw my dad doing it. The idea of he made it look really easy to me, and for me, that made it look all the more approachable and exciting. And that's, as I say, how I got on this sort of path to do this. So I was sort of stuck in the world of AC/DC and ZZ Top and maybe a bit of Blackmore. Not Smoke on the Water and necessarily. I was thrown in with stuff like Stargazer and Burn and stuff like that. I didn't hear Smoke on the Water until way later. And to be honest, I was put off it for a really long time for one reason. I actually knew the name Smoke on the Water before I even associated it with Blackmore. For, again, really weird reason. There was a music teacher at school we used to call Diamond David Lee Rogers. His name was just Dave Rogers. He was called David Lee Rogers. And that's just how he was known in school. But he used to teach like a dumbed down version of Smoke on the Water, the way we've all heard it. Sorry, demonetization.
That was my first. That was the first riff I ever learned was Smoke on the Water. Yeah.
Oh, but was it that?
No. No.
But it was in. Anyway, everyone has their moment at some point. I ended up hearing that dumbed down version first, And for the longest time, I was put off that riff. And then I heard the real thing, and I thought, oh, that's where it all comes from. And then I ended up, and I could go on a whole tangent about this, but that's the song where I actually learned to tune a guitar by ear, and how the idea of learning my musical alphabet happened.
Wow.
That makes sense. It sounds really dumb. I can't make this up, but in my head, the way I had it worked out, I thought, right, you got G. Not going to complete it. I'm paranoid about you guys for demonetizing.
No, don't worry about me. It ain't my channel. You can play whatever you want.
But the following note. So I had, right, you got G down, then proceeding along with the alphabet, you got A chord. B, I thought, right, B, the overriding tonality is the same as the B string. Right, okay, cool. Then C, obviously next letter in the alphabet, but it sounds like at the age I was, that C chord I never used. So then D sounds like a D chord plus its next letter in the alphabet. E, same tonality as the high E and everything else. F, and the reason why I knew the F chord was actually thanks to Diamond David Lee Rogers, was because what ended up happening was he used to teach his Smoke on the Wall. Sorry, he used to teach his Smells Like Teen Spirit. But again, it was that sort of one finger. But he used to sing the name of the note. So you go F, F, B flat, G sharp,
So
C sharp.
It's the vibration plus the note that you're saying. It gets burned into your brain. That's a very smart thing. I should have done that.
Yeah. So he'd sing the name of the note, and that's where I got. I just associated that tonality. It didn't matter what octave it was in. It was just that one above E. And that was pretty much it, really, to be honest. And then you had G back to your octave. And then it wasn't until I ended up starting to sort of glance at occasional sort of scale pamphlets and stuff, where I'd see things like G sharp, E flat, and then I started to fill in this weird sort of sandwich, if you like, between different chords, where you've got A, B, and then B flat, which was kind of like a half and half of each key, although it's a semitone in musical terms. I used to imagine the fretboard kind of like a number line in terms of pitches, where you'd have 1, 2, 1.5. Very, again, weird idiot child you're dealing with here. That's how I used to sort of deal with it at that age, and that's how I ended up picking it apart. Anyway, that's how I learned to tune a guitar and recognize notes, so to speak. Then another sort of slightly shift further towards what I was originally talking about, how I found Van Halen. I ended up, there was a really weird incident where back when I was, I don't know, 8 or 9, I remember my dad putting on a tape in the car, and it was that comes on.
I'm not gonna play any riffs, but I'm gonna play one of the most popular Van Halen.
Yeah, I know. I think the only thing that will save you is standard tuning on that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to that, was one of the things that came on, and I thought, oh wow, this is really cool. I've been playing guitar enough to myself to know that is a guitar. What he's doing, no idea, but that is very obviously a guitar to my ears. So he goes, oh, who's this? Van Halen. Cool. Name goes in my head. And then shortly afterwards, Bark at the Moon comes on. I'm not going to play that. I've had videos flagged for playing that, so I'm not going to play it on here. But Bark at the Moon comes on. That was a big one for me, because that was, I can't even imagine a riff being played that fast, to be honest with you. But that is absolutely just mind blowing. Crazy Train was on there too, and then shortly following that, you had 1 or 2 Van Hagar tunes as well. You had things like Run Around, and I think there might have been other tracks that I didn't pay too much attention to at the time, like Seventh Seal and stuff like that. So anyway, they were starting to sort of sit in the back of my mind. So it's early Van Halen tracks and some Aussie stuff, because my school of guitar is just Aussie and Van Halen at the end of the day. And anyway, the name's sort of branded in the back of my mind. Also, at the time, around that age, one of my favorite TV shows. I don't know if this was a big thing in the US. I'm only asking because they've done a lot of shows in the US. Have you ever heard of a show called Most Haunted? No, it's fine. It's basically like a ghost hunting show, but they shot in a lot of locations in the US. And it was I used to watch it because I just thought it was hilarious, quite frankly. It was on a really crappy cable sort of TV channel at the time. And anyway, they'd show in between commercials like one of their own series as like the first thing. It could be Masters of Horror 1 minute, and it'd be something really ridiculous. But then anyway, one day there was a series about a bunch of naughty kids in a school, and you can probably guess what's coming on now. It was like a hashed version of basically. I'm going to turn my volume down, I think. We had
Yeah.
Keep talking over it, Johnny.
that kind of whole idea. Sorry, monetization and all that stuff. And then it
Jeff
goes
Page was
into,
playing that the other night, man. That was,
yeah.
that
And
was
then
hilarious.
it goes to me, that was comedy. That was just so good. And and obviously you've got Dave like, what do you think a teacher's going to look like this here and all that stuff. I thought this is just too good. And anyway, I do remember distinctly shouting like, Dad, you have to listen to this. Right, the advert comes on. It's, what is this? It's basically just a case of, tell me. He goes, oh, it's Van Halen. We listen to them all the time. Show me everything.
You have all of these albums.
Yeah, it was literally that. So it was just the case of, Dad, show me everything. And anyway, eventually, when this happened, I was handed basically 3 albums. Van Halen 1, 1984, obviously with Hot for Teacher and Girl Gone Bad and all that stuff on it, but also the Balance album. And the reason why I always come back to the Balance album, I fell in love with that album for so many different ways. One, I love the sort of musical approach on it, but also because I'm a twin, it's got twins on the front. So I always used to look at the album cover. I thought, like me, we're not Siamese, obviously. But it was that idea.
Hey, Valerie. Good to see you, Valerie.
So, yeah. Hey, Valerie, how's it going? Yeah, that was literally how it went. That's how I found Van Halen, and everything went from there. And I ended up learning everything more or less backwards as well. I never went through sort of the chronological order of the catalog. I also I do remember one of the first CDs I remember my brother buying was the Best of Both Worlds album. That sort of mishmash of greatest hits. And it sounds like if anyone's getting into a band, don't buy a greatest hits album, because as a result you learn all the song names and not what album they belong to. And I ended up learning literally loads of different songs from that album, but I had no idea which album they came from. So my knowledge of Van Halen, and still kind of is, I blame myself, is a little bit disjointed. And I ended up picking up all these riffs. It was like Jamie's Crying. Obviously, You Really Got Me there cover. It was amazing. And then all of a sudden, Running with the Devil comes on. Spanish Fly was on there too. And then Eruption. And when Eruption came on, it was just like, oh, shit. Yeah. Quite frankly, it was just a case of just what the hell do you do with that?
That's on. It's still holy shit.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's just I still listen to it now and think when you look back and you think you were. Did you guys hear?
Did you guys hear that version of it? That the microphone version, the room mic version of that?
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard that. Yeah, I bet it's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh well. Where do I find it?
Well, Jay,
yanked,
what's the studio?
Sunset.
I have it.
Sunset Sound, right?
I have it. Sunset Sound did a video where they were listening to it.
Oh wow, I'm gonna have to look at that. No question.
Basically, when you hear it, you basically hear that song. It was all one take.
Yeah.
There was tiny little edits that they did. Like there's a little bit of feedback they took out, like guitar feedback. There was the ending, because during the actual run through of Eruption, they go into "You Really Got Me" at the end and then stop.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was taken out, obviously.
Well, let's wait for that green to change color. Ready? What color is it going to change to?
Yeah. It occurred to me that actually. Yeah.
Oh.
When does it change? There you go.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Look, yellow for yellow.
Bueno.
Hang on. Now we've got now it's blue on my screen.
What?
Wait, no, is it going to go blue again? I don't know.
How much vodka is in that glass?
A disproportionate amount.
Same. It's the same color. See? Brand new feature here on Johnny Beane TV.
Oh, yeah. And it looks...
Change the color of my light.
Yeah.
It pays for the channel. I mean, it pays for this stuff. So thank you so much.
Well, that's the thing about Eruption is, I mean, I have a very good friend of mine he's not a very big Van Halen fan. He's more of a lot of metal, super metal guy. So he was, a few months ago, he's like, is there a Van Halen song in particular that you because he's used to hearing all these modern metal guys that are just like can play out of their minds. They can play anything,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him, I was like, dude, go back and listen to I'm the One from Van Halen 1. And just remember, that's 1978. Nobody was even thinking about doing anything like what he was doing then. So that's where, when some people, modern people or younger people that, they listen to all this crazy guitar virtuoso stuff that might listen to some Van Halen and be like, yeah, it's cool, but he's not really doing anything that these guys can't do. Like, well, put yourself in 1978
when no one was doing that, and
when nobody's heard of anything like that, and then coming out with Eruption.
This is the guy that started that.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. If it wasn't for him, who knows what we'd be listening to?
But it's also the concept of as well is I find no one was doing it at that point, but also where was he drawing that kind of inspiration from to get that technique out? You know what I mean? It was almost like, well, what was the? I mean, if there's anything I could ever ask Van Halen, Eddie, obviously, if he was still alive, if I could ever ask him anything, would be can you ever highlight your top 10 sort of light bulb moments? And I'm not talking about like geary related stuff. I mean, we're talking like playing moments. Like, when did the fretboard unlock for you? Like, when did you know that to go here that would happen? For example, it could be a certain, people, you get videos online of like the Van Halen scale and certain Van Halen fills. But it's also a case of, how did you know that if you played it with that attitude, it would work? Like, it was also a case of, if you could highlight your breakthrough moments, what would it be? Not like, when did you discover tapping and stuff like that? Because to be fair, the way you described it, I thought, to be fair, it's a really logical way of doing it. It's almost that element of, damn, to be honest, why didn't I think of that?
Well, was it Lukather? No, it was Neil Schon or Neil Sean, however you say his name. Didn't he say when they were on tour and he showed him, he's like, son of a bitch. Like, it's that. Why didn't you're right. Like, why didn't I think of that?
It was this idea. I mean, I think everyone has seen the Smithsonian thing where it was that idea, where he moves the nut.
The moving capo, yeah.
Yeah. It's literally a case of shit. That's so simple as well. And then obviously you get everyone has taken the different interpretations of the tapping technique and how they've messed around with it. It's utterly amazing. I think as well, the big thing with a lot of his stuff as well, it always gets overlooked, is his rhythm playing. Oh God, yeah. I mean, there's certain things like a lot of people will come to me when it comes to lessons and stuff. They'll want to learn. I love this. They'll go, "What's a?" They give me like an easy Van Halen track. Oh, you want easy? So I was like, all right then. And normally, like, my sort of go-to sort of, if you like, easy Van Halen, because everyone wants to learn Ain't Talking About Love. That is for like a beginner like Van Halen, that is a hard riff. We'll name an easy Van Halen riff. What I tend to start people on is things like Somebody Get Me a Doctor. And even then, to get into the real vibe and the flow of that riff, you've got to listen to one or two little details. Mm-hmm. So for example, and a load of people overlook it, but when you get the when you play standard tuning, I think we'll save us here, thinking monetization, all that stuff again once again. But you get that no volume, that helps. That'll save monetization. How is that? I'm just being a bit paranoid about volume, actually. Is that good for you guys? Yeah. So you got the just that first part alone, you've got to get that. and it's a pull off. It's not like it's not like you hit it twice. A lot of people go,
yeah.
It's actually a pull off. It took me a long time to hear that. But then also you've got that sort of 3-note chug, if that makes sense, on the A. A lot of people go then sort of 2 chugs, or to keep it rolling. It's a little detail a lot of people will miss. And when you start to listen and be more attentive of those little details, where if you can consciously pick them out and sort of train your ears to hear them, you hear little things like that everywhere, little sort of fads in Van Halen's playing, which are really useful to have at the end of the day. It's almost like learning his habits, almost, without having to be too sort of Guitar Magazine transcriber about it.
That's what's so great about hearing him when he would jam with other people. You would actually hear him improvise, and you would hear a lot of the same. He has all these little parts that he would always do, but it was always exciting to hear it. It was like hearing it for the first time, even though you knew it. It was like new,
Yeah, literally. It was also as well. I love those moments where I recently watched. What's it called? It's the first time Sammy Hagar and
Farm Aid.
Thank you. Yeah, I knew it was called something like that. I was going to make up a name and try and sort of vaguely get around it. But yeah, we know it. And,
I saw that live.
Yeah.
I saw that when it actually was on TV.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were there.
No, I wish I was there. I used to have the T-shirt, actually. I might still have a Farm Aid T-shirt. Not for that one, but for another one.
Johnny was flown in. He was on the side of the stage. You don't see him over there?
Anyway, yeah, I was watching that, and literally it was a
they got pulled off the air, actually.
Did it actually?
Yeah, they got yanked because Sammy said the F word or something at the end while he was talking.
Yeah, he does. I didn't think about that, actually.
He said something, and they cut him. Yeah,
I know I heard that they cut him off at some point. I can't remember what it was. I thought it was just because they played a Led Zepp song and copyright and all that stuff, because they just jammed a random Led Zepp song live, obviously, as you would. Obviously, they're really tight on that stuff. But but watching that, obviously, they knew the song really, really well. But when it came to soloing and stuff like that, it was clear in that moment. Obviously, he had all of his sort of go-to licks, but also I love it when he's got to really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's almost like someone's been caught slightly off guard, like, oh right, we're doing this. It was quite a nice thing to watch, and there are tons of little moments like that. And I'm seeing more obscure Van Halen footage now than I ever have done as a result of what's happened. And I recently saw the video promo that they put together for the Balance album. Have you ever watched that, where they had to change producers? I always forget his name. It wasn't Bruce Fairbairn.
Yeah,
I think his name was. Yeah. How Eddie Van Halen was really nervous around him, and as a result, it made him play differently. That I thought was really interesting. The idea of how he felt he had to put on or play to fit the reputation he had been sort of cracked up to be, this sort of innovator, crazy sort of personality on the guitar, like almost like half. Literally, that was weird. Just saw in the chat. I was about to say half alien, and someone's written it in the chat. Anyway,
and Tom
at the screen, and it was there. But yeah, that sort of reputation, and it was, and it's so true, and you can hear it in the album, although it's not as technically as innovative or as surprising as Van Halen 1 or something, but you can hear a definite different attitude going on. That's the way I see it anyway. What about you guys in that respect?
Well, the thing is, when I listen to Balance, when that album first came out, I was really, really into playing Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So my memory, when I hear Balance, I think of these games. I think of Mario. I think of all this stuff, because I'd be sitting there playing it, listening to the album on repeat all the time. You know?
You hear that on repeat all the time?
Yeah.
Is that Ellie?
No, well, it's Killian.
Oh, it's Killian?
I was going to say, that's an interesting soundtrack for Mario. The Balance Amsterdam.
I would listen. I'd have the sound turned off on the game, and I'd be listening to the balance over and over and over, playing Super Mario, whatever games I had for the Super NES.
Oh, epic! Yeah, I mean that's so cool. I mean, if you guys, I'm trying to think of a funny question. It's a total cliche, and it's all down to like my own sort of personal curiosity. Sorry if you guys in the chat know it, but if you guys could pick a favorite Van Halen song, sorry to ask that question, what would it be? And either of you can, who's first to make a sound answers first.
5150 the song.
Yeah.
Favorite?
There's something about 5150 the song that just makes me happy, and everything about that song is just it's amazing. So that would be mine.
All right, and you, Johnny? Oh, hang on, the lights change color.
Oh,
Tom, thank you, man.
yeah.
This is such a great show. I just had to give a little donation. Thank you so much. Cameron, do you have
any
We have to hit this.
Oh, that's where you hear color.
Oh,
that's what that means, that word. I could never that's the name of an Andy Summers record, and I could never pronounce it, but that's where you
synesthesia.
Yeah. It's like
that word before. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's where right, Tom, where you hear you hear colors, or you see colors in music.
Wow.
It's almost like it's like a kind of like perfect pitch type of stuff where
interesting. I like that question. I don't like to claim to have perfect pitch because I hate the word perfect. So I see. I've always felt weird saying, "Oh, I have perfect pitch." It's like, fuck off. But when it comes to like the
relative pitch,
is I can distinguish all 12 notes, and to say, do I see a color or imagine a color? I'm guessing that's how I interpreted that question. Do I see a color when I hear a note? No, but I can tell the difference between them like they were colors, so to speak. And it doesn't matter what octave they're in. I think where that came from, this is a weird thing. Obviously, I mentioned before how we used to listen to tapes in my dad's car. One thing that really helped me listen to the distance between notes, especially in semitones, is my dad's tape deck used to play tapes that extra bit faster.
Oh,
so something that was in half a step down tuning, any Van Halen album, that it would actually be played at the correct, well, not correct pitch, but at in such a speed
standard
where
tuning.
it would come out as standard tuning.
Wow.
But the singing sounds faster.
Yeah, higher.
I imagine Mickey Mouse was in this band.
yeah, his name is Mickey Anthony.
Mickey Anthony. That's good.
But literally honestly, Running with the Devil, the backing vocals on that in that car, wow.
So wait, you can tell can you tell if I hit a note what note it is?
Try me. B.
Holy shit. I'm not even gonna keep going because you answered that so fast.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, you know. That's how I can hear it. I don't know what it is. I don't like saying, "Oh, I've got perfect pitch," but I can hear every note and distinguish each one. The weird thing as well with that whole idea, as I say, with that car stereo that played everything a little bit too quick, it helped me determine how far a note apart was. So, for example, I might hear Van Halen's version of "You Really Got Me" a half step down. When it's played through the car, it comes out as standard. I immediately knew then where to play that on a standard tuned guitar. For example, if I needed to pick a guitar up, it'd be a case of that's where you do it. But then at the same time, when you heard the original version, I thought, now I know how far to tune the guitar down if I'm going to play along to the track. So it was a weird sort of thing. I couldn't even explain it as a kid. It was just there were certain things I could sort of pick up and sort of move around. So
it definitely helps that you did this at a very young age, because I've been reading up, and we have like this Rick Beato.
Yeah, amazing.
He has an app. He has an app for it's called Neural, and Jeannie and I have it on our phone. Huh?
Rick Beato, yeah, it was his app.
It's Rick Beato's app. He developed this app, and it basically helps develop perfect pitch, as you don't like to call it, in young kids. And the time frame between birth and 3 years old is like the critical window, he calls it. Whereas like play like as much classical, jazz, like this, like what do they call it? High information music.
Yeah, like the things like the Entertainer and stuff like that, and other things from Mozart.
Yeah, stuff that isn't like, it's not A B C, like standard normal structured music with just typical chord structures and chord progressions.
So we might get these
crazy notes going crazy,
something like that, where unusual tonalities, like a seventh chord or something.
Yeah, and supposedly that really helps in not just developing musical pitch and stuff like that in a baby's brain and ears, but also there's studies that say it actually makes them more intelligent. And through life, like they did studies on, like they took X amount of kids and did this type of thing with them, and a lot of them end up turning into like they're very smart. Let's just put it that way.
Wow.
Because I don't want to. I was going to go on a whole tangent, but it's a very cool thing. It's actually a very interesting topic as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know about that though when you said that it makes kids more intelligent, because I mean I don't know what I was listening to when I was that age, but it didn't help me at school. Let's put it that way.
Well, not meaning intelligent in school. I mean, if you're interested in something, you obviously wanted to play guitar. That took precedent over everything else.
Do you know something I've never ever said?
Hey, Michael.
I've not really thought about, to be honest with you, but as it stands with a funny thing about me that I know I used to do when I was probably between the ages 5 and maybe 8, something like that. I used to have an old radio in my room, and it used to be tuned to like it's called in the UK classic FM, but they'd play all of the sort of classical sort of what do you call their hits, if you like, or the sort of ones that you're used to hearing. It could be everything: Tchaikovsky, Mozart, Liszt, whoever you want to, whoever you can think of. But that obviously used to be on all night when I was a kid, really quietly by my bed. So maybe that did something. I don't know.
It could be, man.
I never thought about that. That could actually be a thing. I don't know. But yeah, that's something I know used to happen. Maybe that was responsible for my ears picking up things the way they did. I don't know. I do remember one discovery though, that and at the time I thought I'd invented fire, but this is something that was massively replicated by Paul Gilbert and Yngwie and countless other people we look up to. But it was this idea of like the fretboard being linear, interpreting it like a piano. And I can't really make this up. I just remember figuring out how to do it. And I don't know why it didn't come sooner, but it was after I found Eddie Van Halen when I was learning all of these sort of suspended chords. And obviously you've got all your regular sort of cowboy, cowgirl chords, as someone said in the chat before, whatever it might be. You can instead lay them out in this sort of bar chord fashion. This was everything from like Jake E. Lee to any other rock person on the planet, to be honest with you. But with those the notes with the majors in, like major third. Then when you suspend it, obviously it gives off a different tone. But to get to my point is the idea that you'd have your root, your fifth, and then your octave, or as I used to call in this case, the higher version of D. I didn't know what the word octave was at that age. When I figured it out, was this idea, right, you've got the same chord there. So you've got D, A, D again. Same thing there, obviously it starts on 5 on A. And I knew it was D because it was the unison with the D string. A, because, well, same as in the A chord position, same note. Then the octave would start again then. But then a weird moment happened where I thought, do you remember that ZZ Top solo? I think it might have been My Head's in Mississippi or something, where there's one note where it goes, no, it's not that solo. There was another ZZ Top solo I do remember trying to learn. And that note was a prominent part. I just always used to remember that note and associating it with the D sound. I thought, oh, hang on. Oh my God, every note on the fretboard is the same distance apart. You just have to start in a different place. And around this age, I mean, I've been learning, I might have been maybe 11 or 12. I'd sort of picked up, not knowing the name of it, the pentatonic sort of blues boxes from learning AC/DC solos and stuff like that. And I had this weird, and also I ended up, so I had about 3 different sentences in my head then, but I ended up picking up a scale pamphlet. I've still got it somewhere, basically like your basic sort of 3-note per string scales. And the first shape I happened to learn that I had no practical use for was your first position of your major scale. And I had no use for it. I thought, this is just a scale that it gives off a vibe, but it doesn't sound like a song to me. So it's just something I had no use for.
Yeah.
Little did I know at the time how valuable it actually was. But what I ended up thinking was, right, instead of having to learn what is in effect the modes, a myriad of different shapes to physically access the dusty end of the guitar, I thought, well, instead, what you can do is, supposing you just go back to first principles, the pentatonic, instead of having to go right from to the very top, instead you could take the first, in this case, 4 notes, and jump up in octaves. And for me, that was a huge thing, because what you could do, well, for one, but at heart, I'm actually really lazy. I thought, well, I can actually go up in basically a wider range of the fretboard. In this case, instead of having to go from A to C, I've actually gone from A to E, so I've actually covered a wider distance, if you like, sonically. But also, I don't have to change my fingers anymore. I don't have to get my fingers in a knot. So I thought, this is absolutely insane. And then eventually, scales like that you started to come out, where you take your first 6 tones of the major scale, and same with the minor scale. I could hear trends of it in it could have been things like, I don't know, the Last in Line solo or something like that, or maybe even 1 or 2 other sort of Aussie songs, for example, where I could hear similar things like that happening. And at the time I thought, wow, this is such an interesting way of looking at the fretboard, and a lot of people don't look at it this way. A lot of people just assume it's just a maze where you split it up into different chunks,
boxes or whatever.
It's scattered around. So some people, most people, whether they know it or not, can hear the same note in the same octave, or find the same note in the same octave. They might go, right, I can play D there, and oh look, D there as well. Same note in 3 different places. A lot of people can find that, but then people sometimes will not always realize how smart they are, and actually think, right, you've got every note on the fretboard is laid out exactly the same way. It's just a case of knowing where one note is in relation to the other, and you only need to know one note to do this. And this is whenever I teach someone, it's very tricky to sort of teach someone like perfect pitch, so to speak. But if you can learn one note from like the musical alphabet, if you start literally like the alphabet at A, absolutely get that embedded in you, so you can practically hum it off the top of your head and just know it off, and then maybe attempt to learn a new note, in this case B, and distinguish that. Eventually things start to sort of click together. You can hear how far things are apart from one another. Suddenly you might introduce a 3rd tone, where it might be G. It might be, it's not quite high enough to be an A note, and it's not low enough to be a D, for example, and you can sort of suss out the sort of sonic maze that it is. And the more you do it, you'd be amazed at how fast it can actually happen. But the reason why I always start at A is because you can literally put it together like the alphabet. Sorry, it seems like a really weird, unorthodox way of teaching music, but it's a really helpful way of mapping out the fretboard, because eventually you'll start to realize that if you A will always be the same distance from B.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of it is, like you said, like repetition. You know, you got to do things over and over again. And a lot of people always like, I want to be as good as blah, blah, blah. Or I want to, it takes borderline obsession to, and that comes with anything in life. If you want to be good at something, really good at something, you have to put hours and hours and hours.
It's something you do have to have. And I mean, the people, I think everyone's got it to some extent where they're super passionate about something, but people get it more than others. I know for a fact, but not in like a weird, like sinister way, but I do have a like an obsessive bug in me. Like I would go through like weird stages. Like I went through, and also I was a bit of a collective personality as a kid as well. I'd like to collect things, and it could have been anything. It could have been books. It could have been all kinds of weird stuff. So maybe toys in a series or something like that. And then
books.
Oh, yeah, bugs! I collected bugs, like bugs.
Oh, insects.
Yeah, I collected bugs.
I probably did at some point, but then you get into all. It was that kind of sort of obsessive personality where I channeled that into the guitar, and I didn't realize what it could like yield for me, if that makes sense. And everyone can do this. People very kindly will say to me, and it is very kind. People say, "Oh, dude, you have like a God-given gift," and it's like, thanks, but no. What I realized was my talent was figuring stuff out, if that makes sense. I mean, I was you've got to be naturally a little bit good at problem solving. I think if there was ever like a natural ability involved, knowing how to decipher a little bit, but after that, that's more or less it. You don't need to be super like well versed in music and have all the theory and be sort of technically acrobatic in order to be sort of virtuosic or to achieve your dreams. All you have to be able to do is to sort of imitate and wear the hat of your influence, if that makes sense, and try and deconstruct stuff that way. Does that make sense? It sounds like a really unorthodox way of explaining how to figure out the guitar. But then it comes out to what I said a while ago, where it was literally just a case of it's the understanding of the instrument, which is what can separate what might be considered an advanced player from someone who might assume is an intermediate player. And then people will often assume someone's good or bad or not based on what obviously someone all sounds like. That's given. It's music, but it's also down to someone's understanding might be equal. You might take, for example, take two guitarists who I've not talked about. You might take someone like John Sykes, who I love as a player. He's absolutely fantastic. And then a player who is very, very successful, who I'm not a fan of because I'm into other players. Kirk Hammett. I'm not gonna rant about Kirk Hammett. I'll say it right away. But his lead style is not for me. So you won't catch me playing Metallica solos, I'm afraid. But you'd say that both of their like lead styles are totally different, and their understanding of the instrument, they both go down in history as advanced players.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying, and I don't want to dog anybody either, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like it's the understanding of the instrument that separates one player from another, and then how they interpret that. It could be their gear of choice and all that stuff. So it's so that's sort of that's for me where my line is, so to speak, if that makes sense. I'll never damn anyone for saying, "Dude, they suck," or something like that. It's just what they feel they like to do. You know, I mean, you get people who take for example, you can almost have like the easiest gig in the world, like take the Edge from U2. One of my favorite guitarists. Where would he be without a delay pedal? You know, so and then again, it was his understanding of, right, if I play this chord, it creates that emotion, but then if I add this amount of echo on it and maybe play at this tempo with the echo, you'll get a riff like Electrico, for example, off I can't remember. There you go. It's another reason why listening to compilation albums is never a good idea. I can never remember it. But Electrico, that song, if any people in the chat know it, both my brother's still watching, you know what album that came from.
Hey guys, I have to go. I got to put Ellie to bed.
No worries.
Cameron, I wish I could stay here all night with you guys, because this is great stuff. I love talking about this type of guitar stuff. But I have to go. My wife is probably downstairs.
It's like 4 a.m. where he is.
He doesn't have a kid. He have 2 kids down there wanting to go to bed. All right, you guys keep going. Cam, good to see you. We'll have to catch up
Thanks so much
on this type of stuff. Johnny, I'll see you tomorrow night, my friend.
Yeah.
All right, everybody in the chat, good night, and keep changing Johnny's light, the color of Johnny's light. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, we need a new color. Take care, Jay. See you later.
See you, Jay.
That was crazy. I'll probably have to knock it on the head pretty soon.
Yeah. No, I feel bad, man, because you had said, before, you're like an hour and a half.
I'd just woken up at that point as well. So
we're going on almost 3 hours.
Yeah, and it's fair. I actually glanced before at the time there. It's a live 2 hours 45 minutes or what. I was like, my God, that flew by.
Yeah. And we do these things 3 days, 3 times a week. And
it is awesome. I love it. It's great. I mean, it's so cool to it's amazing the people that you meet, if that makes sense, through doing these things, and the things that you get onto just through live streams and chatting and stuff like that. It's actually live streaming, to be honest with you, that I can thank my first appearance with Steel Panther for. That it all started with a live stream. That sounds a bit weird to say that sort of thing, but that's where it all actually started. I got very lucky while watching a live stream. That's how I got spotted.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
So if anyone wants a very condensed story of how my first appearance with Steel Panther came about, I just trying to remember if it was on the run up to Lower the Bar. I think they did like a promotional sort of acoustic set that they live streamed out, and sorry, it's bugging me which album they were trying to promote. I'm pretty sure it was Lower the Bar. It was on that run up, and anyway, I joined this stream, and the band weren't interacting with the audience. It was like an acoustic gig, so to speak, that they were streaming live, and it was being administered by, I don't know, a tour manager or someone. And anyway, I get in there, and at the time I was on my channel. I didn't have really. I don't think I even had 2,000 subscribers at that point. I was literally I was there uploading Steel Panther covers and lessons on Steel Panther like crazy, because he's like my number one, to be honest. Satchel is, at the end of the day, when I really think about it. Of course, you've got Eddie Van Halen, the people who changed my playing history, who I suppose I owe more to in so many ways. But in terms of the guitarist whose albums I really stuck with and really sort of cut my teeth on, because it was like the guitar I heard in my head. I just resonated so much with it, was Satchel, Steel Panther. And anyway, I ended up joining this stream after having uploaded a wealth of covers and lessons and stuff on the channel based around this. And anyway, I joined this stream, and it happened to be, the audience was just, it turned out to be most of my subscribers. And so in that respect, I got pretty lucky. So I joined the stream dead late at night, and when it was going on, I remember the feed sort of very, very flatteringly basically was saying, "Oh, Cameron Cooper's in the stream. Cameron Cooper, Satchel's son." I remember this. Satchel's son's in the stream, and all that stuff, which made me laugh. And then anyway, it eventually got to the point where the chat was just talking about moi. And then eventually the people who were running the stream, I think, basically said, right, as a message to me, sort of, who are you? You just basically ruined our stream. So it was just a case of, who are you in relation to us? And eventually I got an email from them. I thought it was my email's public on my channel, so they ended up finding it, and they sent me an email basically saying, well, who are you, basically? I ended up showing them more of my channel and more of my videos, and they said, well, we like what you do, and keep it up. That's really, really awesome. And it was just after that Aiden Fisher kid got on stage in that kid, where is he, Kansas or something like that, is where he got up on stage. It was around that time. From there on, I just sort of left it there. But it turned out, just further down the line, I was actually speaking to Michael Starr at the end of that email conversation. It was the band email address that they ended up contacting me through, and which was an amazing start. And then I remember on the run up to basically their first sort of show where I was doing I ended up saving up a ton of money, me and my bro. We ended up doing the VIP meet and greet, and I thought I'll email them before the show, basically saying, and is there any chance I can get on stage? I heard nothing, which I'm not surprised about. I bet they get it all the time. But a really important moment, sort of in the interim, between me first contacting them and getting on stage, Michael shared my sort of Steel Panther covers playlist on his Facebook. So and I woke up to a load of messages that morning basically saying, dude, congrats. And I don't use Facebook. So it was like one of those, what's this even for? And anyway, I found out that he'd shared me, which was amazing. And then moving further on, I ended up, in short, asking them at a VIP meet and greet, any chance I can come up on stage. And Michael, being the generous bloke that he is, had put in a good word, I think, to Satchel, who may have watched my videos beforehand, and basically said, I reckon I could trust this kid to play one of my songs. And that's how it happened. And originally I didn't think it was going to work. I mean, I understand if you're a kid, like a little kid who wants to do it, because it's cute, it looks cool, you don't have to be awesome, and it does good well for the band. It shows the good people. But when Michael was, what, 19 at the time, it's not quite the same. So I can understand why they'd probably say no. And I was expecting them to say no. And I've got to be honest with you, when I asked, I honestly, I was not prepared for the answer I got. And yeah, I just said, apart from showering him in thanks for basically for his guitar inspiration on me, I basically said, is there any chance I can come up on stage tonight? I know the whole set, I won't let you down. And I didn't know the set at all. I haven't played the songs in months, but it was just that case of, right, I won't let you down. He thought for a moment and then sort of looked at the rest of the band in the lineup and basically said, don't know about you guys, but I'm cool with that. And I'm looking at Angus like, it was that easy. Oh my God. And I'm there thinking, God, if I actually go up there, I'm not prepared. So I don't know what song I'm going to play. The song that I knew best was Asian Hooker. I love that song. It was so cool. And that was the dream. Anyway, I ended up sort of being funneled out after doing this little meet and greet with them into the bar, thinking, oh my God, I might just end up getting on stage. They said yes, but they'll probably forget. Anyway, show carries on. We go downstairs. We're in the venue. I'm right at the front on the barrier because as part of the VIP sort of perks, you get early entry. Anyway, so we're on the barrier, my brother and I. The gig kicks off. Asian Hooker is the second song in the set. So I'm like, great, the dream is over. The dream is over. But yeah, there you go. So I thought, well, that's it. No chance for me. So anyway, the set rolls on, and then it gets to a point where it's like, oh my God, I'm running out of songs that I can actually do here. If they do call me up, they've played every song I can play. All the girls start to go up. So this is like second to last song in the set or something. And Satchel, who stood like there, like right above me, is basically just looking down at me, going, sort of prompting, it's your time now or never, get over the barrier. And I sort of threw myself over the barrier, to which security were not best pleased about because they had no idea what was going on. But I very nervously managed to sort of trudge my way up on stage and sort of pretend to be confident, and somehow managed to do it. I was completely deaf from the show, didn't know the song very well whatsoever at the time. And the rest is more or less history. And again, I couldn't be more thankful for it. What can I say?
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. I mean, especially, since you're such a huge fan of theirs, and that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm a lucky dude. I mean, there are unfortunate moments I've had when I mean, it's the world of YouTube. It's not the same anymore, where you have to gig and do it the old-fashioned way of hoovering up every fan at a time and selling tons of records. I know that it's a different way of making your own look and opportunity. So a lot of people will say, oh, the people these days have it easy. It's like, yeah. But at the same time, it's also the way of using your technical resources now, because everyone has the power. It's like a balance of power. It's just a case of how you manage it. in my case, I mean, Satchel being like my number one guy, it's like, who gets to jam with their number one? You know? And so it's one of those moments where it's like, in a way, when I first did it, I was actually ecstatic in the moment doing it. But it's probably one of the scariest things I've ever done. I can't lie. I don't think I've ever been more. You're thinking I'm about to screw up in front of thousands of people. I just have to look good doing it. And that was when I was going over the barrier to do this. But when it comes down to it at the end of the day, it was just an unbelievable thing. I was more scared of playing in front of Satchel himself than thousands of people watching. And again, it was just one of those incredible opportunities that you sort of have to try and sort of make. You know, it comes from a lot of like cracking the instrument and really giving it your best shot, but also as well, a huge amount of it was just being a little bit cheeky. You know, and as a result, I think they, I don't know how I managed to twist it, but maybe there was an element where they sort of admired my boldness, the fact that I just went up straight up to them and asked and had some kind of way of proving that I could do it. And that way I've developed that connection that I've got with my, like one of my icon, in effect, the guy whose music and their back catalogue, on top of things like Van Halen and stuff like that we've talked about, took my playing up a notch. Or not just up a notch, took me on in leaps and bounds. If anyone's watching, you know, and you guys might be in a plateau or whatnot, if you want to progress in your playing or maybe attempt some different rock music, try some Steel Panther out. And I'm not saying that because I love the band. Some people, I mean, I've got to be honest, I didn't like them at first. I thought this is just some weird joke. I mean, are these guys actually serious? But then you get behind the idea that they're insane musicians and they can carry it off because of how good they are at their instruments. But the maddening thing is how sorry, I was slightly losing my thread there. I had something else in my head. It's when it comes to sorry, Johnny, rein me in. I saw a comment. It distracted me. I'll get back onto it in a second.
Well, I know it's 4 in the morning there, so that's
yeah, I know. Sorry, I'm slightly running out of gas.
That's something else too.
But when it came to that whole, it was basically sort of seizing the opportunity being my point, and that's it.
Yeah.
Remember, with learning, when you learn Steel Panther being my point, it sounds really hard at first. I get it, but when you actually start to deconstruct it for what it is, it's not too bad. The way to treat it, it's kind of like a worthy adversary on both the lead playing and the rhythmic front. It's not as riddled with nuance, I'd argue, as something like I'm the One or something like that from Van Halen. But it's got some really cool chord ideas in there, some brilliant changes, really catchy melodies, funny lyrics as well. You've got to have a laugh doing it too.
Yeah.
But also, when you actually start to break it down, it's very rewarding. So, for example, you might take, for anyone watching, one of my sort of go-to sort of Steel Panther riffs from ever teaching anyone this stuff is that sort of, just thinking about volume here, everything gets louder at night for some reason. But you're there. That kind of idea, it's all really cool sort of hooky changes. That's just like Tiger Woods. And the idea with that one is obviously you've got the thumb over the neck. It just shows you sort of two chords can go together that you wouldn't have maybe known before. And then you got hang on. But so you got all these really cool sort of chord progressions. I mean, that's how George Lynch is this. So
yeah, it's very, very 80s.
Yeah, it's a really cool pattern, you know, and it works so nicely. And then if you take those riffs, or those chords rather, and you mix them around, if you're thinking more like on a creative front, you can sort of change up the order. Different riff. all together, and you can. It was really, really inspiring stuff. And on the rhythmic approach as well, not only is it all bending and vibrato, which personally is what I tend to gravitate towards. It was just such a valuable thing, and it was guitar playing to me that just sounds confident, if that makes sense. I mean, you can get some of the most technical wizards on the planet, but then if the vibrato, for example, sucks, it's suddenly you must know what I mean. You might get the most crazy sort. It's honestly one of those moments where it's like, really?
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's all about the vibrato. That's how you can tell. That's where it's at.
There's something I remember writing out in a comment once, and I want to put it on a T-shirt one day, where you might get I don't know what you I can't remember the precise words I used now, but it was this idea of sort of categorized technique as speed. You'd have speed and vibrato like invincible or whatnot. Then you might have no speed, great vibrato, awesome. Speed, no vibrato, yeah. It's such a fine like sort of a spectrum of guitar playing where it can be. I'm quoting someone who I teach here, but if someone's got really good vibrato, it can sometimes distinguish how professional they almost sound. If that makes sense. I'm a bit scared saying that because obviously it's subjective, it's music, but that's a huge part of what I did, and the reason why I gravitated towards that stuff was, as I said, it just sounded really confident. I really got behind it, and when I've sort of again, I mentioned at the start of the stream, I've got that sort of obsessive bug in me somewhere. I went through at the time Feel the Steel and Balls Out right the way through, like religiously. I bet I drove my parents, to be honest, to the point of homicide, quite frankly.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm not surprised. To be fair, I used to just repeat stuff, honestly, over and over and over. And to be fair, my brother as well. But it was when it was you've got to do that if you want to sort of put on the hat of somebody else and really try and nail their stuff. But when it pays off in that way, it was just one of those moments where you think, God, how sometimes you just, when you put the stuff together, it's like, I'm an incredibly lucky dude. How do you sort of win these opportunities and keep them, and then when you make the connection, it's just one of those things where you think, oh my God, amazing. It's like, who gets to play with a number one? And thankfully I've done it twice. So it was just one of those really unbelievable moments. The second time is not as surprising. It's still a great story, but it's not as surprising, if that makes sense, or as spontaneous as the first time around.
They were begging you to come back. They're like, come back and play with us again.
Not quite. It was. I was asked if I'd like to do it again, though, in the moment that it happened. And the way it worked, again, there's a huge dose of luck in this involved, but at the same time, it was seizing the opportunity. So if you ever get the chance, make the opportunity happen, provided you can deliver, being the main point in this case. What ended up happening was, it was when I was recording the first Lake Domain single, Heroes. Go and listen to it, little plug. Just saying, go and listen to it. 50k streams on Spotify. There's a reason for that. But the fun thing about this whole experience when we were over there recording, we ended up going for we were in Gothenburg, Sweden. We went to a really nice restaurant just literally across the road from the studio on what they call, someone watching may have been there. It's called the Avenue. It's kind of like the main road that's like the spine of the city of Gothenburg. Anyway, we're on that road, and we stop into this place, and my studio engineer at the time is looking at his phone, and he goes, "Oh, Steel Panther are playing Tree Garden." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. Steel Panther are like my favorite band. When are they playing? You have to go and see them." "Oh, they're playing tonight." "Oh, nice. Where's Tree Garden?" He just goes, so just points across the road, and not even me oblivious. The tour bus is parked like next to the venue.
They're walking in.
It'd be rude not to at least have a look. Anyway, we couldn't at the time. We had more important things to do. I had to go in there. We had to finish the single, get everything sort of prepped for that and everything. And we also had a dinner reservation at 9 p.m. So, which is the time they're taking to the stage. So I'm like, oh God, we might just miss them because I didn't know they were there. I knew they were in Europe because I was seeing them in 2 weeks' time. But to know that they were in the same city as me when I thought
across the street.
Yeah, it was mental. So anyway, we went to have dinner after recording the single, and I think being a bit drunk at the time, a bit of Dutch courage going on here, I ended up basically we got to Tree Garden, and the way it was laid out, I don't know how I can really draw this as a picture, but it's the whole sort of turn in for the venue. It looked like it was like a sort of taxi rank that sort of pulled up past the venue, and then you could join the main avenue again. And we were sort of stood in this one little bit, and the tour bus is pulled into like a driveway right. I don't know how it got in, to be honest, but right next to the venue, funneled right up against it. And the way it worked was you couldn't go and stand by the tour bus like you typically can any other venue. They'd sort of barricaded it off. And there was a sort of security man, rightfully so. He amazed how many places don't do this. There was a security man sort of just manning the barrier there. And I was trying to sort of say to them, I know the band. Please let me through. I didn't know they were here. I just want to say hi. That's it. And he sort of just looked at me and went, yeah. Anyway, I brought up basically a picture of me with them on stage. They say, one of those guys is going to walk out of that door in probably the next 5 minutes. Just want to say hi, that's all. And he went, all right, I don't really care, but okay. So anyway, we're waiting there for probably a good 40 minutes. What we thought was 5 minutes turned out to be nearly an hour. And I can't see the back door, although I said to the security guy, one of those guys is going to come out that door. I have no idea what door we're going to come out of, just a door near the tour bus. And anyway, I'm waiting there, and all I've got to go by in terms of in terms of seeing around the corner where I hope a band member will be, is the reflection in the tour bus paint. So I'm literally just waiting for something to happen. Anyway, out of nowhere, when I'm looking at the barrier, suddenly the whole bus is illuminated. Double doors have been flung open at the back where they're loading out. Anyway, you see all the gear come out, but no signs of any band members. And anyway, there's a little bit of a brief moment. I had to turn around. One guy comes out, and it's Russ. Didn't see anyone else. It was just the one guy I was looking for. Anyway, I said to security, "That's him. Can I go and have a chat to him?" Anyway, I go over. I walk around the corner, and I basically go, "Oh, hey, Russ." And you sort of see his shoulders drop because he's got his back turned and everything. And it's almost as if, who the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, literally, it's like, it sounds really stupid. I mean, I've just done a show. I want to get on the bus. I'm tired. Bye. I totally get it. Anyway, he turns around. And I get the most unbelievable reaction, which I wasn't expecting. It wasn't long after I demoed his signature guitar. Anyway, he turns around and goes, "Cameron, how's it going, buddy?" Threw his arms around me. And I was like, okay. But also, hi, this is amazing. He goes, "Oh, did you come to the show tonight? Or what are you doing here?" So, "Oh, I'm recording my my album just up the road. It's really, really cool." It's like, "Oh, that's fantastic." It's all the small talk and everything. And he goes, "Anyway, your album, you've got to email me that shit." And he goes, "Do you have my email?" "No, I don't." So I immediately sort of went, "Right then, if you don't mind, let's have it." And if anyway you want Johnny Beane TV world first, I've got a picture of the moment that actually happened.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, hang on. Out of character, Steel Panther, so I don't know how people would feel about this usually, but so you've got. So we're stood by the bus here, and I've given him my phone, and he's basically just putting in his contact. You'd be amazed if you ever see him out of character or get the chance to meet him. There's a very awkward selfie which I won't show you, but he does look a lot like Ben Stiller, I think. If you ever meet him in the flesh, out of character on the off chance. But he basically sort of put in his email address, and since then the connection was pretty much made. You know, we were talking for a fair bit, and I sort of cheekily asked, "Is there any chance I can come up on stage and play Asian hooker?" And he went, "It would be one less thing for me to do," sort of like an indirect maybe. And I totally understand. No one gets to do it twice generally. I thought I'm really pushing my luck here, but you can't not ask. Anyway, so I left it there, and I also I was saying to him, "I'm seeing you in 2 weeks. My brother and my girlfriend will be there. It's going to be really, really cool." And I think, to be honest, at the time, mentioning that my girlfriend was coming helped. But anyway, that was I think a deal breaker in the hindsight. But when it happened, it was the night before the show. Obviously, they'd just come from, I think it might have been Sheffield or something. And he dropped me an email basically saying, "If it's a good night, we'll pull you up for 17 girls in a row again because we know you can do it." Like, great.
Awesome.
Can't not say no to that again. So it was kind of planned, and it was a lot easier to do this time. All I did this second time around, because I was so unhappy with my first performance of it, I'm not gonna lie. I thought, right, sit down, learn this song. I think I played it about 100 times the night before. They say, "Do not screw this up." But it was an absolute blast. I'm very, very lucky. I just saw a question. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, that's a great story.
It was a blast. I've not actually shared that publicly with anybody. It was really, really cool. I just saw down here. Plus, Russ doesn't smoke or drink. Is that a question? No, he doesn't.
No, it's a comment.
Have you seen the dude? No, actually, yeah, that's awesome. Sorry, we haven't really looked at the chat at all this whole stream. I feel bad. But
there's people here. There's people watching.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've realized my brother's still on. Bro, he's going to be at work like really soon, I think.
And who sent this? Who? Jay just sent me something. I don't know who took this. People send us pictures and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So there's like.
Someone put a filter on me.
Yeah.
Whoa, I look really cool. The sexiest guy in rock right there. I knew he'd show up.
And then, oh God, Jay's avatar has one, and luckily I was looking away, so it didn't get me.
I love stuff like that. I really love it when when you see people who will put their face over famous movie scenes.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah,
I love that. I want to do the one where I'm Jack Sparrow. I really love that, or Marty McFly for sure. I mean, because I've got that sort of, fortunately, that sort of baby face sort of a look. I want to do that with that sort of Michael J. Fox, when he's on stage doing that. I want that. That'd be so cool. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
In terms of what time are we on here actually? 4:20.
For you?
Yeah,
4:20. Yeah, 8:20 for me. PM.
Wow. You guys obviously in California. I'm guessing you guys, has winter like properly set in? Have you guys got snow on the ground and all that? And I'm aware Texas is snowed under, which I can't believe.
Right? Yeah. No, it doesn't snow here.
No, fair enough.
So I was out before we started the stream tonight. I was outside in a t-shirt walking around.
Jealous. That's so annoying. I want t-shirt weather back again, big time. Like, I'm sick of the cold now. I'm done with it, to be honest. It's getting a bit samey. What other questions have we got here? Just looking down here, just saw it's really cool. I mean, I think on the last one I couldn't see the feed, so Cam, do you set up or adjust your own guitars? No. One thing you guys should know, I don't know if this is the same for a lot of guitar players. I can play guitar, and that's about it. Or anything else with my hands, I'm screwed. I mean, I can't use scissors. Famously, can't use scissors. I'm actually a lefty at heart as well, and basically, if I ever attempted to set up a guitar, I'm gonna break it. I'd end up destroying something or whatnot. I'll often I used to say to my girlfriend when I was at hers, I used to sort of what this proves how sort of like not a handy guy I am. I'm one for burning myself and shit like that. And I do remember washing up, and she says, "I'm dead drying something or whatnot with a cloth," and she goes, "Are you gonna be careful? Don't cut yourself on that." Never forget that. Like, yeah, it made a point. It's like, yeah, I'm probably the sort who could find a way of cutting myself with a cloth. That is literally, that's how useless I am at everything else. But then I don't always come back. I can play guitar a bit. That's about it.
So you really can't use scissors?
Yep, no, I can't use scissors or anything like that. If you want to watch me put up a shelf or something, grab your iPhone and film it, because you're about to have a viral sensation. It's going to be insane. Eventually, it's going to have to be a video I'm going to have to do now, so no one else will do it. I'm going to just film a random video for the channel of me putting a shelf up.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't do that now. I've said it now. I promised it in front of an audience. Oh man, that's crazy. To answer Ivan's GJ's question in a little bit more detail, I will occasionally adjust my action depending on what happens, and generally that's not out of I want a high action now or a low action or something like that. It's basically just to keep it how I like it, which is sort of medium, not so high that it's like a slide guitar, if that makes sense. But at the same time, not J level low, J low. Just but you might. No, I wish he was here. Oh, honestly, that was as far as I'm concerned, that was gold by my standard. But in terms of I don't like a super low action, because what it means is, because I like to bend and stuff like that, it often tends to choke out unless it's an exceptional setup, but where it can be super low and you can bend for miles, then jobs are good. But I've not found that just yet on any guitar that I've ever had. But at the same time, if it's too low, sometimes I feel I can't quite dig in the same. I think sometimes a lot of the tone is where you can really dig in, and that actually applies, for example, as with more legato playing and tapping. If your action's so low, there isn't enough room to add that finesse, that nuance. You know, a little interesting thing. I'm just going to take away some of the delay here. So hang on a minute. Right. So if you wanted to, if some guys want to sort of get the Van Halen sort of tone, and then people will buy all the gear and everything to go with it, but sometimes still feel that something's missing. And that's where that famous sort of quote, the tone is in your fingers, sneaks in. And just to give you an idea of how to unlock or put that Eddie Van Halen hat on, so to speak. And this isn't me claiming, well, not having ever met the dude or ever had any contact with him or anything like that, just from ages of trial and error and finding a result that works for me is, for example, if you're learning the tapping for Eruption, and I'm not going to do this with too much gain here, but that's a way too much reverb. So there I'm not really digging in at all. I'm doing enough to hammer on and achieve the note. And I'm only pulling off really mildly, just enough to, again, achieve the note. And it still melodically sounds very distinctly Eruption, you know? And so on. Still too much reverb. But in terms of the like the mechanics behind it, sometimes they'll say something like, it doesn't have, to quote one of my students, finesse. This idea that it doesn't sound like Eddie when I do it. It sounds like Eruption, but it doesn't sound like Ed. And somehow, okay, it was a frightening question to be addressed with. But one thing that is really helpful is if you're wanting to get into tapping and really nail that sound, the art in it is getting a really, really good pull off. And in order to achieve that, you've got to allow your fingertip to sort of engulf the string a bit more so than usual, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And then treat it very much like a pick, where you can always hear the string under stress. It makes you bite your lip when you do it, but that kind of and same goes for that finger too. Whichever finger is in between your index and your tapping hand, make sure that's pulling off like crazy too. A lot of people neglect that, you know. Then the tapping sounds like, and their tapping sounds like that. So it's really important to have the hammer on and the pull off in there as well. It all has to be working as like one unit. And also with more conviction, when you have more, God, I had 3 different sentences in my head again. I'm from one for doing that. You've got when your pull offs have more strength, if you like, and a bit more, they're a bit more refined, so to speak. You can play with more conviction. So so that would be a
put
really
more into it.
And when you can do that and it feels more comfortable, you can therefore afford to press a lot harder, and you'd be amazed how much it suddenly starts to pop out. That sort of more Van Halen-y tone, as opposed to it being just notes on and off. You know, you can also hear it in things like Spanish Fly. It's a little bit abstract. It's a little bit harder on this one, but if I slowly sort of blend in the idea of pulling off a lot harder, it's again, Johnny, is the guitar really distinct on here, or can you just hear string noise from here?
You can hear the amp.
Okay, it was. I might be cheeky and push the volume a little bit more on this. Ideally, you don't want to hear this. So, for example, how's that going?
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's the amp. It's the amp.
Nice. So the for example, if you're wanting to, I'm very lightly doing the hammer-ons and pull-offs, and it still sounds like Spanish Fly, but it's not like it's been played with power. It's a really subtle difference, but it makes it all work. So I'm going to blend in those sort of harder pull-offs, and I'll probably sort of do something with my eyebrows to say when I'm doing it. It's quiet again. And harder. It's like every note's being squeezed a little bit. That makes sense. Where it's not just on and off. You're slightly squeezing it, and therefore it gives it that that extra tone in there. That's a really helpful thing. How did I arrive on this? Where did this come from? It was through guitar setups. That's what it was.
Who is this?
It was to do with guitar setups. So yeah, I'm one for drifting on tangents and stuff like that. But yeah, that's virtually it. You know, I don't.
4:30 in the morning. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't tend to or I try to avoid adjusting things where I can. I'm too lazy for that, and also I fear breaking stuff. I just tend to leave it and try and make it work, so to speak.
Cool. So, yeah. I like, you know, I learned how to do all that stuff, setups and everything, and I'll work on my guitars here and there if it really needs it. But I'm so used to playing just with any kind of action, whatever. Just because when I play, I don't play to play. I play to write or to record. You know, so these guys make fun of me. They make fun of me all the time because, you know, my action is like, you know, this high or whatever. But it's like I play the guitar to make a song out of it. I don't play just to play, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So
it's true, you know, everyone has their own sort of setup taste, you know, and I think it's very rare when you can find a setup will always stop you from doing what you do. I mean, apparently people who've picked up Eddie Van Halen, I'm pretty sure it was Nuno who said this. I'm pretty sure this is where I heard this from. He said when he got the one chance to play through Eddie's rig, I mean, the whole thing, his guitar, his amps, his exact pedal board, the whole thing, because they had to be in the same area as each other and they met up. And
well, Gary was in his band. That's when Gary joined Van Halen.
Not for slightly how ignorant for me to get into that bridge. There was a pretty strong mutual connection there.
There's that selfie again, me and Nuno and Paul Gilbert.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is
right there.
Oh man, where's your beard? Balanced beard. But that was so cool. But yeah, I mean, Nuno got to play through obviously his rig, and said I was surprised at how high Eddie's action was compared to my guitar. Because I mean, apparently, at the same time, you got to break it down to this. Really, I mean, he makes incredible guitars now. Obviously, the EVH gear stuff and all the other guitars he's had with PV and Music Man and stuff like that. Really high quality instruments. And again, if you think about it, what is the guitar that made him famous? When you look at it on, not in terms of, not without sentimental value and how much it means to all of us, but if you take it quite literally, he was playing a piece of crap guitar. Yeah, I mean, look at it. It's
something he threw together. You know, he just threw it together himself.
Yeah, it's destroyed. I mean, he changed necks on it all the time, from what I can see in photos. I mean, obviously, he had to stick a coin to it. I love this is a thing that I thought was very clever. The idea where that coin actually had a function. The idea where you could rotate it.
Yeah.
To stop the bridge. I thought that was really clever. I didn't know that. I thought it was just there for fun, to be honest. But yeah, it was it all comes part and parcel, and the idea of Eddie having a really high action does explain a lot about his tone, I think, in a funny kind of way. So yeah, that's why
he had really, really strong hands.
Yeah,
you know,
big
really,
hands.
really strong, really big. Yeah. When I met him, I shook his hand, and I remember it was like really soft. Really soft. He was right in my face. He was like right in my face talking to me, and I remember shaking his hand and just being like he's a normal person, just a normal dude that just happens to be responsible for all this stuff that we just love.
Yeah. A funny moment here, because it was actually a question I've been meaning to ask you. You're the first person I've ever spoken to, I believe. Well, in fact, no, that's a lie. But the first person I've had the chance to properly talk to about this, who's met Eddie Van Halen. What were the circumstances in which you met him, and how did you feel? Because you've lived something I would have dreamt of. So.
I was invited to a party that we were at the same party, basically. And I was in the room with him we were in the same room together for like hours and hours and hours, but I left him alone, you know? And then I had a mutual friend of ours introduce me to him. And he was just normal. He was the exact same guy I saw all these years in interviews, you know, but it was just like different because there he was, you know. And
apparently he's quite short. He's about 5'7" or something.
Well, he's taller than I am.
How tall are you?
I'm like 5'6", 5'7".
Whoa, I didn't know that.
So he was like slightly taller than me, just very slightly. And I don't know. It didn't really hit me until a couple days later that I had met him. I almost freaked out just thinking about it. Yeah. You know. But no, when I met him, he was just a normal dude, and I've taken a lot of hate for that over the years on these shows, saying he's just a normal guy. You know.
In his head, no. But at the same time, I mean, in persona and everything, it's amazing when you do meet one of your heroes. It's so funny. Obviously, you just said obviously he's a perfectly normal dude and everything. It's often, you know, if people meet their heroes, it's often the person meeting the hero who's not normal when that happens. And
right.
It's the other way around.
And I didn't want to look like some weirdo meeting him either.
Yeah, honestly,
because
I wish I had it on film, because it's a total example of what not to be like if you're meeting one of your gods. Because when you meet one of your gods, I think your god suddenly becomes a man. It's actually a bit of a sad thing, because the mystery and a lot of the mystique behind a certain person vanishes when you've met them. But when it comes to an example of what not to do, I have nearly all of the day on camera, and it's on my channel. It's not a popular video because I uploaded it when I was just starting out, but it was when I met Steve Vai. I saw him on the 25th anniversary of Passion and Warfare.
Mm-hmm.
A brilliant gig, dead hot day. Would you believe it, in the UK? But it was a really hot day. So just clammy and sticky hot in this venue. It's horrible. And that particular day, we were doing the Evo experience, which again I'd saved up a ton of money to try and do, and where you got to hold the real Evo and basically talk with Steve for a little bit and have a sit down and a proper chat. And the way it worked out that particular day, I think Steve woke up a bit late, and we didn't get the whole thing. I don't think. He arrived. We were meant to have this thing kick off at like 3 p.m. or something. He didn't show up until like 3:30 or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little bit sad, but anyway, we ended up meeting him. It was really, really cool. But we were all held up in this little mini bar place downstairs, and I do remember very distinctly my brother and I thinking, "Is this all just some gigantic hoax? Like, why are we even here?" Anyway, so we get led down into this bar, and we're sat there on this on these. Basically, like, it's all scattered around in this place, trying to be as comfortable as we can. Anyway, out of nowhere, you see these two, like this personal assistant says, "Right, I'm going to go and get Steve now." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." We waited there for about 20 extra minutes. Anyway, suddenly this really tall dude, big skinny dude, he calls himself, I'm just a walking upside down question mark. I mean, because he's got quite a hunched sort of persona. Anyway, he walks in, and you just hear like you would in all of the videos you ever see him introduced to them, "Hey, folks." And all of a sudden your head turns, you look up, and it's like just as he was. I'd seen him in YouTube videos for years and years and years and everything, and he stood right there. And I just, it wasn't like uncontrollable sort of fangirling. It was the polar opposite. I was so starstruck. I went totally cold and blew the opportunity. I barely said a word to him. I was so nervous. Like, talk about, I mean, if I did it now, it would be a piece of cake. I'm a different person to when I was then. But it was, honestly, I was so nervous. I mean, when he signed a bunch of different bits of merch for me and stuff like that, which I've still got, which is really cool. And again, it was a really cool experience, but talk about like a blown opportunity. I'd love to have had a proper chat with him and actually asked him some decent questions. So yeah, it's really cool when you do meet your heroes, you know. But obviously, the reason why I wanted to ask about Eddie Van Halen is, of course, it's almost a case of you've met someone who I've always dreamed of meeting. And it was almost a case of how did that sort of go down, and the reaction and everything as well. Because it's so funny what you said when you mentioned he was a normal guy.
It really wasn't. If I would have met him when I was, a kid, if I would have met him in the days of 515812, Carnal Knowledge, Balance, any of those days, I would have been a wreck. It would have been like, no way. But because I met him when I did, how I did, when I did, whatever, it was the perfect timing, because I wasn't nervous at all. There was none of that. And for him, there was no rock star or anything. It was just like a regular dude.
Yeah.
But he looks like the guy that I grew up on watching play and stuff, And he was, and somebody said in the chat, he was right in my face. He had just eaten a sausage appetizer. Yeah. So he was right. He was like, this is like his face. This is me. It was literally right here talking to me, and I could smell his breath. And it smelled like sausage. It smelled like the sausage appetizer. And I'm shaking his hand, and he's laughing with me. He's joking. He gave me a fist bump to the chest. I remember because he was joking around, and he gives me a tap. He gives me a tap to the chest right here.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, it didn't hit me till a few days or a week later, where I'm like, did that really happen?
Yeah.
You know?
And you think about like the opportunity that you had, and it all of a sudden, well, it can all of a sudden it just hits, doesn't it? You realize the importance of that person.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, isn't it? You know, when
but also I know so many people that knew him in different ways, that worked with him, you know, doing the show over the years. I've met people come to me. I meet all these people and stuff, and so it's Van Halen to me now. It's not at all like it was, you know. To me, it was a real thing. It was. I don't know. I don't explain it, but
well, now in your position, you now know so much about Ed and his history and his life, and you have all of his guitars and a lot of the stuff that goes with all the knowledge that you have. The more that you know, sometimes the less there's less mystique in there, if you know what I mean. The aura can sometimes fade, sometimes being the important word there, but it's the sometimes it could be the case, you know. I don't know if that's true in your case. I'm just spitballing, yeah.
Well, I mean, because of all the years of watching him on MTV, the interviews, you know, I was a huge Van Halen collector for a lot of years, which I've never really said, you know. But I owned like everything, every magazine, every recording, every whatever I had up until one point. So I do know a lot about the band and about him. That's why it was so weird when I met him. I didn't want to look like some weirdo. So I just kind of said, "Hey, I'm kind of a fan. I'm kind of a fan of yours." And he's asked me where I was from. I'm like, "Oh, I'm from, you know, Northern California." I'm like, I drove down here, and it only took me, you know, 4 hours, 5 hours, and he knows the trek. He knows the trip really well. So he's like, usually it takes, you know, a lot longer to get, you know, from LA to San Francisco, you know, by driving. And yeah, he was just normal dude. And I don't know. I don't know. Freaking Tony. Yeah, when Tony met him.
Yeah.
He was a kid. So he was like, I think he might have been nervous. Tony actually has a really cool story about meeting Eddie. Our friend Tony here. He met him backstage at the '84 tour, and Valerie Bertinelli was with them, and Tony says to Edward, Edward's wearing a scarf like he did in the '84 tour, and Tony's like, "Can I have that?" And Valerie takes it off Eddie and gives it to Tony.
Right.
So he owns stage worn, you know, scarf.
Oh, that's amazing. Is there like a picture that proves that happened? If that makes sense. I'm not doubting him. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, I meant just the idea if you can prove.
No, there was none of that back then.
Okay, no, I was just wondering on the off chance.
There was no. But also, really quick, I know it's super late where you are now, but no, going back to when I met Edward, I didn't want to look like some weirdo, and I was very comfortable, you know, talking to him, and I didn't ask him for his autograph. I didn't ask him for a guitar pick, whereas other people did. He was signing stuff. He was giving out guitar picks to people, and I had a little video camera with me. I could have filmed the entire meeting, but I didn't, because I'm like, this is normal.
In some ways, I'm glad you didn't. I'll tell you why. Sometimes when you meet someone like that, I mean, in every opportunity now, if you meet someone famous, you can film it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do film it, you're watching it often not either through your phone, so you're not really there. Mm-hmm. But also as well, you remember the moment you filmed it, not the moment you met them always.
Mm-hmm.
And it can take away from the moment. It's good to have the stuff that it only belongs to you. It's your memory.
Yeah, I've got images in my head of him looking at me and whatever. But like I said, you know, it's just normal. It's normal to me. So it's not. It's just like, yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
And it's, even though it's a very big deal, the 14-year-old me would not understand it at all. But I'm glad I'm at a place now where I can do that, where I've met a lot of people, and I've actually met all my heroes. And
give me a little list. Who have you met? I mean, obviously
it's just normal.
And
it's just normal. You know? Well, yeah, like that picture, that selfie. That's like, when I did that, it was like no big deal. It's like, hey, you know, we did it, and it was like, whatever.
That's really cool. I love that. That's amazing. I mean, tell you what, look, I know Paul Gilbert's a really tall dude. I mean, if you go back to that picture, look at the size of his head.
Yeah, he's really tall.
He's like 6'7" or something, isn't he?
I met him a few times, and I've got another picture of us standing next to each other, and he's like way taller than I am.
Yeah,
you know.
No, honestly, he's the guy I want to meet. I mean, Paul Gilbert is a funny one over in the UK. I mean, in terms of like popularity, I mean, remember when he came over about 4 years ago? He could barely sell out like a pub-sized venue. Not a lot of people really knew who he was unless you were really in the know. But then you can go over to Japan and sell a stadium, no problem. Which I think is really crazy. It goes to show, you know, how certain people make it in certain areas. You know, I mean, a lot of people will go, "Dude, White Lion." Like White Lion are like no one in the UK. It's like, then you get other ones like Striper and bigger bands like Tesla and stuff. They weren't that big in the UK. So sometimes, I mean, some people like freak out when they think, "Dude, how are you not into George Lynch?" I am into George Lynch, by the way. But it was one of those.
I met him too.
Yeah, so it was like,
and a mutual friend introduced me to him, and it was like no big deal.
Yeah, that's really cool. You know, I mean, it's amazing how you get to have those moments. Hey, Kitty. But it's when you get those really cool moments where you get to meet someone who you have sort of been inspired by for so long. But then obviously I was saying about George Lynch just before. In the UK, not that massive. Right, in terms of like the glam stuff that we had, not saying that like I was there, but just knowing what my dad's seen and everything, because he saw pretty much everybody that you can pretty much think of. But it was basically, if you were to sort of sum up the British sort of hair metal scene and stuff that was popular vaguely here, if you were into sort of like the female side of things, you had Heart and stuff like that. But then also you've had and then in terms of the big bands, you had Whitesnake and Def Leppard. Then maybe Ozzy in his hair metal days with Jay, and that was about it. Certain things came and went. Even Van Halen weren't that big here, you know. So it's when it's all said and done. Of course, they had hits here and stuff like that. And to us, they were actually more successful in the UK when they were with Sammy Hagar. So I guess
they opened for Bon Jovi.
They did, yeah. That's how my dad saw them on the Balance tour, and what was it, the Ambulance tour, where they were all I think, was it Sammy Hagar the only one who was well? Eddie just had a new hip put in. Alex had been in a car accident, I think, or something.
No, Eddie hadn't had the hip done yet. He had the hip done later.
Oh,
but so there were shows where he was sitting on a stool, he was walking around with a cane, and
really?
Alex had I think when I saw them in Oakland in '95, I think he was sitting on a stool, maybe, or maybe there was a stool there, I think.
Oh wow. And you had well, I don't know what he said. Basically, it was basically half the band more or less were.
Alex was wearing a neck neck thing because like some part of a ceiling fell down on him or something at a show.
Oh right, I thought he'd been in a car accident or something. Like it was whiplash or something. Anyway, that's what I heard. Anyway, but but yeah, it was. How do we arrive on this one again?
I don't know.
My short-term memory's shot.
I don't know. But you want to talk about height, you know?
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
There's me and Michael Anthony.
Whoa! How?
And so if I'm 5'6" or 5'7",
He's 5'5". That's really cool.
I've met him a billion times over the years. Yeah, he's a super cool dude.
Yeah, does he recognize you now, like on like first name terms?
He has before.
Yeah. Do you reckon he'd do it now if, like, supposing you walked into him in the street?
I don't know. Probably not. Meets a lot of people.
Yeah, to be fair, he comes from, and that's just his family. He's got a really large family, so I'm aware he's like a real like family dude, and that's before he's met anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Do we have pics of Eddie sitting down?
Oh, that's a joke. I don't.
I didn't register immediately. What else we got?
I don't know. But I know it's like 15 to 5 in the morning there.
True, it is. I'm slightly running out of gas here.
Yeah.
I'm not much fun.
No, dude. No. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's been
for hanging out, man.
It's been absolutely amazing. I would stay on longer, but I'm starting to run out of gas now.
Oh yeah. I got to use the bathroom. So
that's totally fair enough. How do you wrap that? To be honest, amazing. We've both gone on for this long. To be actually, I drank a liter of this.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I mean that was full at the start of the stream. How do we normally wrap these up? I've never known how this really works.
Oh, I say thank you to channel members on the here on YouTube.
Oh wow, that's a list.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, those are the sponsors. Those are sponsors of the channel.
That's killer.
And actually, that's only the first card. Here's the second one.
Whoa! Look at those guys and girls.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Everybody. Thank you. And we'll be live tomorrow night for what we call Straturday Night Live.
Oh yeah.
Looks like
Straturday Night Live.
Straturday night.
Be there or be square.
That's with your host, John BL. There he is. It's his show.
He looks like an inlay.
Quick, what notes is he on?
Literally did. You have to modify that picture with loads of people. So that really tickled me that day.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
All right. Cameron, thank you so much, man. If you want to get a hold of Cameron, you go to Guitar Man Cam on Instagram.
Yes, that's that. And if you want to, on the off chance, book a lesson with me and listen to me spout on about things guitar related, drop me an email, camcooperguitar@gmail.com.
Awesome.
All right, fantastic. Once again, Johnny, thanks so much for having me on again. It's been a blast. We have to do this again soon. This is awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely we will. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right.
And
thanks so much.
We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
All right.
All right. And you can split because I know it's super late. You can.
Right. No worries. So it's just leave studio on here, right?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. All right. Take care. Thanks so much, everybody. See you soon.
See you, man.
Bye-bye.
Show Fat John Bull. What? How did I highlight that comment? Wow. Thank you, everybody, for watching this tonight. Leave a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. We're live on Facebook as well. Johnny Beane TV Facebook page. And good, we're still under 4 hours. And so this is a podcast. This will be a podcast. So have a good night. And we'll see you tomorrow. Johnny Beane TV. Bye.